Be able to hear my lovely voice, and then they can now hear Aranock's voice. Hi.
Hello.
I'm not gonna sing because it would be weird, just because I usually sing my way onto the stream, but it'd be weird to just sing to you.
Oh, so what you're saying is I should sing.
Yes, yes. Actually, that's what. In fact, I'm embarrassed for you that you are not singing. Is what's happening right
I
now.
I mean I have sung on streams before.
I do it all the time, except for
Um,
mine are always impromptu and not good at all.
um, there's like a couple songs that I can sing because I taught them to myself to do video essays. Like the one that I kind of fall back on pretty consistently because it sounds good with no backing track is Jenny of Old Stones, which
Oh,
um,
that's a good one.
you know what?
Also, I'm going to transition us on so we can actually see our faces. Hi, everybody. Hello. Also, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much for the super chat. That's really, really nice. I appreciate that. And thank you for saying you
Um,
liked the Matrix video, which I appreciate. Anyway, sorry. You were saying.
I think chat's saying I'm a little quiet.
Oh, I can turn you up. One sec.
Maybe turn
Let
me
me
up
know.
on.
Let me know how voices sound. But yeah, if anyone's here. Also, by the way, everyone, this is the lovely Aranock, who is a wonderful YouTuber and content creator. Absolutely wonderful person. She/they pronouns for anyone who's curious. And then, sorry, I should have let you say that. Apologies.
No, you're all good.
Uh,
It's perfectly okay to introduce.
yes.
Um,
But for those of you who
it's
don't know, sorry, I just want to give you a complete intro real quick. But
yeah, yeah.
Aranock is a wonderful content creator. Go find Aranock on their own YouTube channel. And also, if you may know her from, they contributed to my asexuals in Stex and Star Trek video, and the asexual segment was Aranock. So that is who you are.
Yeah, which was so nice because I haven't really had much reason just with the work that I've been doing to talk about my asexuality.
Mhm.
I'm not because not because I lack interest in it. It's just because it wasn't relevant to the art. I I guess to like contextualize what I do, I like to discuss various things using a piece of art as a lens to engage with those topics.
Mhm.
So,
I would have no idea how
um,
to. No idea how to. I've never heard of anyone doing. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But
um,
no, I'm not belittling. I'm just saying, like, I totally get you. I do the same thing. It's awesome. Are you there? You okay? Oh no, did you freeze? Oh no, I think they froze. Yeah, they're doing a really great impression of. Anyways, thank you, John. Let me figure out what's going on. And thank you for the super chat, John. Oh no, I'm so sorry, Aradoc. Yeah, I think Aranock. I think we lost Aranock. Oh no! I was like, oh no. It's like, did I say something? Was I a jerk? I feel really bad. I'm sure they'll be back in just a second. Um. Well, while Aranock is coming back, which will hopefully be in second. Hello everybody. Yes, I am playing Dark Souls tonight. Aranock's gonna help me. Hopefully we can get them back. Just so everyone knows, I'm gonna let everyone know just right up front before we get going. So I'm playing Dark Souls for the first time. I have already been playing it for a while, so this is my first time in my first playthrough. I've rung the second for this. Those you know, I've rung the second bell. That's where. So if anyone's asking, I rung the second bell and I beat Sif. The last thing I did last night was I beat the wolf Sif. So that's where I'm at in the game. Also, just so everyone knows, I'm currently playing this game because I'm actually doing a video for it, which is me playing Dark Souls for the first time. So you're all part of the video. Oh no, there's Aradoc, and I think, oh, are you back? And now I'm frozen, but you can hear my voice. But now I'm frozen. So that's everything that's everything that's going on. So there we are. Now we're
I,
back.
that was so weird because everything was working except for like I can still see your stream on Discord.
That's so weird. That's so
I
strange.
I don't know what happened there. Where did I get cut off?
You got cut off. You were explaining what you do on your channel is where we got cut off.
Okay.
But I used the time to just explain that I'm going to be playing Dark Souls for the first time, and you're
Oh,
going to help me,
nice.
and we're going to play around, and I'm doing this for a GameSpot video. It's basically the fun bit.
Yeah.
Oh, and thank you, and Andrew Clegg. Thank you so much for the super chat. Yeah, like I said, I never played Dark Souls either. I've been playing for a bit, so I'm doing okay. But yeah, there you
I
are.
I have a unique history, but what I was trying to say was I'm currently working on my big Matrix video. I've been working on it for 5 months intensely, but I've been planning it since well before I made the channel. And when the video comes out, if you've watched all of my other videos, which is very much not necessary, but it will be interesting when you realize how much groundwork I've laid with every single thing else that I've made.
Yeah, that's I do the same thing in my videos. So also,
Yeah.
someone just asked Sif. Someone said, sorry, I'm just want to make sure I respond to statue. Someone said Sif is pretty easy. No, Sif made me cry. I tried for 3 hours.
Easy.
I go.
It's not emotionally easy either.
No. I have the video recorded. I have it recorded. I should share it. I'll probably use it in the video. But I was wanting to beat Sif for 3 hours, and I'm like, I'm gonna beat this stupid wolf. I hate this wolf so much. And then you get to the end of the battle, and he just limps to death. Sif just slowly dies because she just gets less good at fighting towards the end. I'm like, no, now I feel bad for murdering this poor wolf, adorable wolf. Anyways, sorry I ranted at you.
No, you're all good. No, that's how I felt with Sif 2. I think the game does a brilliant job with the
matching the feelings of the fight with counteracting your feelings.
Yeah, well, because I think Dark Souls have very interesting musing on depression.
Mm-hmm. I think you were telling me that.
And I'm not the first person to make this reading, but others have talked about it. But it's a unique game in that way.
Sorry, I'm just starting it up as we're going. But also, chat. Sorry, apologies too. I do want to make sure we have a conversation. But just like last week when Lucian was here, I'm gonna try my best. I'm looking at the chat and I'm reading the chat. But I'm not gonna be as responsive to the chat as much just tonight, just because I do have a guest. But I want to let everyone. I'm gonna try and look at the chat and respond to the chat. But I just want you all to know that that I might be not as directly responding to the chat as I usually am. So just everyone knows.
And I'll try to help out by keeping an eye on chat too, so you're not too stressed about it. Someone much earlier asked a question about suspecting a friend. It's not your place to speculate about someone else's sexuality. If someone is questioning and trying to figure things out, then I highly recommend looking up good resources on the topic and sharing it with them. But that's not for you to impose on them. You know what I mean? That's their own kind of experience and journey that they're exploring.
100% agree. I second that.
Yeah, just be supportive of them in whatever they are like. And the other layer of it from that question is asexuality and aromantic experiences are not the same thing. So generally, there's a view called the split attraction model. Basically, the idea that romantic and sexual attraction are not the same thing. Mm-hmm. I would say that attraction is even more complicated than that, and that there's things like aesthetic attraction. And anyway, but generally, sexual attraction has to do with whether or not someone is attracted to someone in a way that would, make them want to have sex with that person. Mm-hmm. And romantic attraction is more about being attracted to someone on a romantic level, wanting to pursue a romantic relationship with a person. Now, that being said, being ace does not mean you necessarily do not have sex. And that's a very complicated topic, and I highly recommend that everybody just goes and watches David J. Bradley's video on the topic. David's a friend of mine. I give feedback on all of his videos since we became friends, and David gives feedback.
It's a good video too, I should say.
It's just a great video, and it covers all of these topics in much more detail. But yeah, if you are looking for resources on asexuality and aromanticism.
Romanticism.
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 Right. How does language? I don't do
language. Also, as an aside, people are talking about Folding Ideas. This is just an aside. I want to mention it. Folding Ideas NFT video was fantastic. If anyone hasn't seen it.
Okay, my degree is in computer science. I hate NFTs with a burning passion.
Oh, you and everyone should burning hate NFTs.
Yeah, but especially just someone who is in this field, that this is my scientific field.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and
It's
Hellblade Senua's. I love Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. One of my favorite games. Have you ever played that, by the way? Andrew Clegg, thank you so much for the
I
super chat.
know about it. I'd have to get it like on sale because I don't know how well I would handle some of the stuff that it does with like voices and things
Yeah,
for
it's.
personal reasons that are my own mental health that I don't talk about publicly.
Oh,
So,
for sure, and by no means to feel pressured on that. I think it's more just
yeah.
it's. I think it's a really great game to like talk about those things. I think it does it really well, but I certainly understand like the accessibility angle on some of its features. So.
I want to be clear. I think everything it's doing with its design is quite good. I have.
Oh yeah.
That is not a comment against what it's doing. It's just a reality that like things that fuck with your head in certain ways don't always register as the best when you have certain mental health issues, and so
very fair.
yeah. By the way, the snake things they're parryable.
I have not been able to learn how to parry. I've gotten this damn far in the game. I'm just I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm mostly hoping that you don't realize how bad I am, like how I managed to like.
It's not about bad. It's just I was gonna say that like, while I love Dark Souls 1, one of its major problems is that it often doesn't encourage the player to learn certain necessary skills until you get very far into the game. Sen's Fortress is commonly a place where people hit a real wall. And one of those skills is parrying, which is no, that's nothing bad on you. That's just a reality that the game didn't tell you or teach you that you needed to learn to parry. That is one of my few critiques of the near flawless design of Dark Souls 1, which I do think is a phenomenal game.
It's so far I loved. Oh, hello. I've loved this game design so much, and I love the emotional arc it took me on. And also, I want to make sure I address some of the super chats real quick. Edward says, we had conversation that these Pew Pew games were back in the sequel spin-off French band. And then also says, Captain Omni says, Conan the Barbarian is one of the best pulp characters ever created. I think we need a Witcher Wild Hunt style Conan game. Didn't they just come out with, I think they had a Conan game recently.
There's a ton of Conan games. I don't know if any of them quite count as exactly a Witcher style game, but there are many.
Yeah.
If you are looking for Conan games, they do exist. Some of them are quite popular. I think one of them is sort of a survival style game. Yeah.
Also, I moved the weird, creepy. Okay, it's not here. Okay, it's cool. I moved. There's a ball that comes down and rolls and destroys you there, and I almost died to it earlier. And I was like, "Is it still there, or did I move it?" And it did. Also, this dude's just chilling. Hey, friend.
Yeah. So.
Sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're all good. One of the interesting things with Dark Souls, as well, is that a lot of people don't get that like there's kind of like two phases, which is exploration and the run to the boss.
Yes.
And the exploration, you just kind of need to accept that you're going to die.
Yep.
Like it's not a game that is the game is expecting you and actually wants you to die on a regular basis because that's how you learn. It's a game about failure. People mistake this for being this horribly unfair game, and it's a very fair game. It's saying you need to learn this space because this is an unforgiving, cruel world that does not care about you. And repetition and death are key to its thematic storytelling as much as its logical storytelling. If you turn around... sorry.
Oh, no. What? Yeah.
And go back outside. Sorry. I was the delayed version, but down below to the right there... keep going.
That?
Yeah, just drop down there.
Oh, can I? I try not to drop. Oh, hey, there's the guy from before. I didn't even see him before.
You can go talk to the Onion Knight.
Oh, shoot. I forgot that he was there. Or I didn't see that he was there. I remember he was the dude from before. Let me just not get killed by this guy.
Yeah.
Or hopefully not get killed.
Another really useful skill that the game doesn't really tell you about, but like if you get into playing the game a little bit more, you can learn is dual wielding is really good for getting extra damage in.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
So what you do is not two-handing, not dual wielding.
That I have done.
Yeah. So
that I do know.
like your shield is something that you use temporarily, and then when you go for damage, I find like if you know you have the spacing to get a two-handed hit in instead, it's better to do that. But yeah, those are kind of the two major things that I feel like the game never tells you need to learn, but like parrying and when to two-hand are like super important.
That was
skills.
super helpful to learn with the boss that was in Blighttown, which Blighttown
Quelaag,
yeah Quelaag. That was the one that like I definitely learned it there, but then I had to like use the shield for Sif because Sif was just cruel. Also, someone said super chat, two super chats. John Vinyl says, just watched and loved Ghostbusters Afterlife. Do you think Phoebe Spangler's on the autism spectrum? Yeah, I don't think they expressly call out Phoebe as on the autism spectrum in the movie, but she's definitely coded that way in a lot of ways, as was the character who Egon also was as well. At least I think so.
Yeah, I've always read Egon that way. My interest in that film just shot up.
It's
based on that alone.
I actually liked it is a good film. I don't think it's fantastic by any means, but I really thought it was a very solid and very enjoyable Ghostbusters Eagle. It's the second best Ghostbusters movie, which isn't saying a ton, but it's still I think it's solid. Also, Captain Omni says Ghost of Tsushima amazes me as the first game to try an open world wandering samurai instead of it shocked me it took that long to try. Yeah, I love Ghost of Tsushima. I think that game it was part of what I loved about that game was it like was Assassin's Creed. It was like doing the it's more than that, but it's like it's doing the Assassin's Creed game. But it's doing the Assassin's Creed thing that I missed ever since Assassin's Creed went to more RPG more RPG focus. So also what was it? This is the second time at the live stream. Well, welcome to your second stream, Rob. Is there a topic being talked about while you're playing the game, Jesse? Right now we're just talking about like Dark Souls in general.
Oh yeah, I was gonna talk about difficulty stuff. Yeah, so for some context, like part of what my degree has been on is game theory.
I've made mistakes.
Not the terrible YouTube channel.
Yeah,
a
game theory. Oh god.
I have significant ethical problems with the way that they handle mental health issues and misuse research studies on mental health. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm just like, whenever. To be clear, this isn't a like, oh, I've never seen their stuff. I watched this stuff growing up, and as I grew up, realized, hey, this is kind of fucked up.
Yeah, that happens with way too much media. But yeah, I definitely, because I also watched Game Theory a bunch when I was younger. But also Brutus says Jesse playing Dark Souls. Now I just need Jimmy Snow to play Doom Eternal. YouTube will be complete and never be happy again. Well, I can't speak for Jimmy Snow, but I to be fair, I'm gonna be honest with you. I told Aranock before we went on the stream here. I started playing this game, so I'm doing this for a video, and I just expected like I'm gonna do it and get through it, and it'll be the video. I've actually kind of fallen in love with this game, and I want to like play the rest. I literally want to play the rest of them without the looming specter of having to make content out of it. And I bought literally yesterday I bought Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, and Bloodborne. Hey, so I have them all. So it's fun. And then Odnon, hello all, Jesse, short time fan, first time caller. Dia, Dark Souls 2 is my fave, very unpopular opinion. Also appreciate the content. I heard, thank you very much, I appreciate that. I heard Dark Souls 2 is supposed to be the controversial one. And then, sorry, Aranock, I apologize.
No, go ahead.
Kester Davis says, hey, Jesse, I've been curious for a while about the tattoo on your shoulder. What is it? What's the story significance behind it? Let me just quick not die here. But I will say, I thank you so much to the last super chat. I really appreciate that. And then, Kestra, so the tattoo on my shoulder is of Smaug the Dragon. I have a hoodie on, otherwise I'd showed it. But it's Smaug the Dragon from The Hobbit, like the actual illustration that J.R.R. Tolkien made on the map for the Hobbit map and for that book. And the reason I have that is because what's the best way to describe it? Also, whenever there was not two people down there before. That is new. Are those the guys from before? Anyways, but the reason that I have it is the first story that was ever read to me by my dad that I remember is my dad used to come into my room every night and he would read me a chapter from The Hobbit every night, and it was the first book that like first novel that ever got read to me, and I loved it. And then when I was able to read the first novel sized book that I ever read was The Hobbit, and it's my favorite novel still to this day. I adore The Hobbit so much. So it's the tattoo is like a connection to my father, and then also just a connection to my nerdy geek fandom. So it's Smaug the Dragon and the Lonely Mountain too. There's also the Lonely Mountain on there too. So that's what that tattoo is, and it's that's what it's about. It's sort of a connection to my father and to all that. So there you go. Anyways,
That's a completely really funny thing. One of the first books that my dad used to read to me.
oh, is it the same thing?
Was The Hobbit.
It's such a dad's gonna read you a book, bedtime story book.
Well, and it's a great book. God, those films are a disappointment, but I love the book.
I will. Okay. I will
I have-
fight for the first two Hobbit movies.
I will give you the first one.
Fair enough.
I cannot stand the second film.
Mhm.
And I have tried so hard to watch that third film, but
The third one is bad.
it's unwatchable. I try my best to see the positives in works of art, but I think that the Hobbit films are best described as unnecessary
Mm,
in every way.
yeah, I can totally
Like-
see that.
They just there is no they're not trying to say anything, they're not doing anything with their adaptation, they're not altering things enough to like warrant doing something different.
Mhm.
It's I was talking about just before we went on stream, like I think adaptation's a really wonderful, beautiful, important part of storytelling in general.
Mhm.
But like the Hobbit films exist for money. They were extremely rushed in a couple of different ways. I don't blame Peter Jackson for how they turned out. I blame the studio.
Mhm.
But yeah, I agree with Sarah. They could have been one good film. I think they could have been two great films, to be honest.
So
That's
here's
how I would have structured it.
here's my defense of the movies. I agree with everything. I legitimately actually agree with everything you say. I like the movies because, especially the first two, because they at least feel, and regardless of the conditions under which that movie was made, which are bad, like Peter Jackson being forced to make that movie, and like all the stress and everything that everyone went through on that, is really rough. But that being said, for me, as this snake guy just chills out here, it feels fun. Like I go back and watch those first two movies, and I actually just have fun. I feel like, oh, I'm just hanging out back in Middle Earth again, and which
is awesome. I want to be very clear. I like to try to find the value of art, even if I don't think it's very good art.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think they're just fun movies. I don't consider them like great things at all, but like I enjoyed them quite a bit. And I also have so Lucian, who was my friend who was on here last week. He's my best friend, and he and I went and saw the second movie in theaters, and we just had so much fun like laughing along with the film and like making fun of it and just enjoying it, that I just have like good feelings about it. My only like overt criticism of the second movie is like it has 45 minutes too long. That whole sequence where they battle Smaug in the mountain, just cut it out completely. It's completely unnecessary. So I like those films. The third movie, and also the thing that I like about the first two, is I really love how they actually developed Thorin's character until the third movie, because I actually think they set him up. I know you probably have thoughts. I actually liked how they at least set him up to be this noble guy who does have a fatal flaw of like this thing that his father has, is like worried about greed and more worried about power and worried about money than actually caring for the people. And like Thorin actually cares for these people, and you see that throughout the entire like first two movies. Like he cares for people, but he always kind of worries about having that sort of like self-interest deep down within him, and he constantly fears that. And then you get to the third movie and it's just dragon. It's like dragon madness, and I'm like, no, you had actual setup, like interesting character like setup, and then you just go, but dragon madness in the third movie, and it's just frustrating.
I think it's a case where the first film had some problems, but I was fine with it because I was at least able to have fun with a majority of it. I cannot stand the entire end sequence of action when they're like escaping from the goblins. I think it like
Mm-hmm.
oh just it doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah.
Both the goblin thing and the barrels. And I just
Oh, I
and
love the barrels. Sorry, I will fight for the barrels. That's stupid fun.
I
Anyways.
it's one of those things where like the films are so tonally confused with themselves at
Mm-hmm.
times that it makes it really really hard to like it's like they're confused is how I would describe the Hobbit
Yeah, I
films.
could
It
definitely
feels
agree with
like
that.
they're like three or four different films that are all trying to mash themselves together into something coherent, and it just never comes together for me
Mm-hmm.
emotionally. um I want to be clear. I'm not someone. I don't give a shit about plot holes. I think people's ideas of what plot holes are is
Yeah.
silly and kind of often kind of misses the point of a work of art.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I
like
100% agree.
there's a bit from my Matrix video, which is just me like it's this critique of the Matrix that has bothered me since I first heard it, which is um,
Also,
talking
before.
about.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
Just before we jump on that, because I do want to hear that, but I want to make sure I quick address these two super chats because they were really nice. John Vinnels, why do you think it is that Tolkien endured so much longer than all the other world building myth makers who preceded him, like, say, Lovecraft or Lord Dunsey? I would say, well, Lovecraft also kind of stuck around in a different way, but I will say the thing with Tolkien is that he took a lot of, like myths from a bunch of different places, and sort of like made them all into a fantasy thing that like codified the fantasy genre in a really distinct and exact way that became kind of generified with Dungeons and Dragons down the line. And so I think the reason that Tolkien became so important is, number one, the book sold really well, and it just sort of like set the template for all fantasy afterwards. So everything after Tolkien has to either be like Tolkien or react against Tolkien. And you see some people break out of that, like Ursula K. Le Guin's Earthsea series, like kind of breaks out of that a
Yes.
little bit. But for the most part,
Um,
everyone's either reacting to or against him. And then D&D came along and like took that what he did and like generic, like said like we can just have like halflings and elves, like just like codified it all in a really distinct way. So I think that that's part of the reason that Tolkien is
I
so big. And then thank you, Ulysses the Pagan, for your super chat. I love the golf bit too. It's great. The knocked the head off right into a hole. Anyway, sorry. Also
um,
thank you to S Tom 10. Thank you so much for super chat. You're lovely. I appreciate you. Anyways, sorry,
no,
Aranock.
no, you're
Welcome
all
to
good.
welcome to the stream.
I think there's two major things that like I agree with all that. Just to add to it, one Tolkien is at a very deep core level a historian, a sociologist.
Mhm.
So he has a deep understand and a love of linguistics as well. So his world is so ridiculously intricately fleshed out that um, it it it's not like it's easy to find yourself in and see it and picture it because all of these little things are so well built up, the interrelated sociological things. But at the same time, it does one other thing that those other writers never did, which is it appeals to kids.
Mm.
Tolkien is something that people grow up on.
Mm-hmm. Speaking
um,
speaking of both of us mentioning that just now.
yeah, exactly. Like The Hobbit is a foundational
Ah.
kids book in England,
Mm-hmm.
um, and elsewhere later on, but especially originally, that's a huge aspect of how people. Yeah, no, like part of his studies was in linguistics. Yeah, like that's what I mean. Like he was a linguist. Like he was an actual linguist, not like
Mm-hmm.
a like not just a hobbyist, but a genuine linguist. And with that, it creates a situation where kids read the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit as they grow up, and they usually read the Hobbit first, and that gets them interested in reading the Lord of the Rings, and then you know once they have grown up, they
Mm-hmm.
share that with their kids, and it
Mm-hmm.
creates a cycle um,
I mean, Star Trek does
of
the same
sharing
thing.
that. Star Trek does the same thing. I think a lot of franchises that have maintained for a long time do that. The other thing too is that Lovecraft is much more niche than people think he is. He's actually more popular now than he's ever been,
That is true.
in the public conscious sort of way.
Also,
I would
Lovecraft
say
was
that.
a terrible human being too.
Oh, I don't think that Lovecraft is worth reading.
I've never
I
read any.
think
I love his. Oh God, that was not the way to go there. All right, sorry.
I think that everyone should read uh, works by people influenced by Lovecraft who are marginalized and have reclaimed his works. Um,
I agree.
so Lovecraft is like a deeply contradictive figure, a extreme racist anti-queer weirdo and anti-Semite. Like he just hated anyone that wasn't like him, and also, but he expresses
Also, I just
like
want to say sorry.
okay.
This is where I died the last time I played through. This is where I gave up. Screw this. Screw this stupid mimic. It's terrifying and I hate it.
Fair, but
That chest, so
Lovecraft.
everyone knows, that chest is a
No, go ahead.
mimic. That chest is a mimic, and it is horror. The design on it is the scariest mimic I've ever seen in my life, and it terrified the crap out of me last night at 3 a.m. And I'm like, nope, this is where I stop. Anyways, sorry about that.
Oh no, it's all good. So Lovecraft, I think, is really fascinating because while he was all of those things, and his works are about like, oh my god, the evil marginalized people, he fundamentally views and approaches the world from the perspective of someone that feels like an outsider.
Mm.
And despite all of his horrific traits, those aspects and that type of horror has resonated with marginalized people for a really long time after his works. And that's why I would say read the works that he influenced. You're going to get a lot more from it, and you're not going to have to read a bunch of 1920s, racism dribble
Yep.
to get to the interesting parts.
Yep. Also,
um,
people say I did not know that. Thank you for letting me know. But I am reading all the chat, by the way, just so everyone knows.
yeah.
So I am keeping up with the chat even if I'm not responding. Yeah, I am not. No, Fada. I am not unleashing the mimic. It was too scary. And thank you for I did not know that there was a way. Thank you, Red and the Rat. I did not know there was a way to identify the mimic, and I appreciate you for letting me know because I never want to see another mimic in my life. I hate them. Anyway, sorry.
Um, no, you're all good. Yeah, and then Sarah said in chat,
Oh, Sarah, I believe.
Sarah. Oh, I'm sorry. I
Oh
apologize.
no, you're fine. I
Uh,
don't think. What is?
uh,
Oh, that makes me. I love. Also, can I just say, I love in this game that I get to just kick their bodies around. It's so cathartic. Like you were the worst thing ever, and now I just get to play with your stupid body.
I
Anyways,
think one aspect of Dark Souls that's constantly not discussed is the inherent comedy of how it treats death. like,
yeah.
like, I think I don't want to misattribute. I'm not sure if it's either Jacob Geller or H Bomber guy who said that like it's kind of like you get a point where the developers are kind of having an in joke with you, like, ha, we killed you, like.
I think that was. I think that was H
It
Bomber
was H
guy.
Bomber guy in the Pathologic video, but I think it's the same vibe in Dark Souls. There's a point that you get where it's kind of a joke between you and the developers. Like it's kind of funny. It's like, oh, I got crushed. That's kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
And when you hit that sort of mentality, the game is quite lovely. Um, but Sarah was saying Pratchett said Tolkien is to fantasy as Mount Fuji to Japanese art. It's either in the art or the artist is standing on it. And I would say yes, with one big caveat. what region of the world are we talking about with fantasy?
Mm.
And because I would say that is very true of pretty much all of Western fantasy. And there's a fair bit of fantasy outside of the Western canon that definitely is influenced by it. But there's a lot of fantasy that doesn't even remotely touch Tolkien's work, and that stuff's really interesting.
Also Edward Beater, you're right. Third Space is a great Lovecraft horror. My favorite. Sorry, just an aside to talk about that too. My favorite I've talked about this in a video. My favorite Lovecraftian horror thing is. Have you ever listened to the Magnus Archives? Yeah, I'm assuming that you're. I'm sorry. It's like, have you heard of it? Click. They're searching.
No. I know. I was typing a response. And
No,
loudness.
You're all good. You're all good. It was just the comedic timing of that was very funny.
That is really funny. No, I've heard about Magnus Archives pretty much exclusively off of people sharing like fan art of it.
That is fair. The Magnus Archives. By the way, chat, everybody, if you have not seen the Magnus or listened to the Magnus Archives, one of my favorite things ever. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but the basic concept is it's an audio drama podcast where the entire concept is, I must describe without spoiling. The show starts off as just this place called the Magnus Institute, which is kind of like they just investigate weird stuff happening. And all it starts off as is this guy named the Archivist who just archives all the different random stuff that they go through. And him just like reading out statements of people that like, oh, this is a statement that someone made about the stuff going on, and I'm just reading it and then archiving it. So it starts off as sounding like a bunch of disparate one-off stories, like each episode is just a random one-off story. But then as you go into it, after about like 5 or 6 episodes, you start to realize, wait, these are connected. I see, like something happened here that starts connecting there.
Okay.
And but it's not like it's not like these thing connects to this thing. It's just sort of like you start to notice stuff popping up in different things. And then I won't spoil any more from there, but the way that universe builds out and the reveals of how that universe is built out is one of the, I think, most unique Lovecraftian stories that I've ever. I will say Eldritch. I hate describing things as Lovecraftian. Eldritch horror universes that I've ever listened to, and it's also 5 seasons long, and it has a definitive beginning, middle, and end. And the ending is, I think, takes such really cool risks. I know it was a little bit controversial, but I love where the story goes over 5 seasons. And the ending of season 5 is a definitive end of the story, and it's done, and it's a really solid listen. So if you're looking for like a 5-season audio drama that has a definitive ending that is solid and good, you need to listen to it because it's great. Also, the How Shinzon of Reem is built. Yes, and NCC71 and Chris. Every single time you mention Shinzon, I adore you.
I'm a big fan of letting a story end.
Yes.
I deeply dislike infinite stories. Now, I want to be clear what I mean by that. I think you can keep telling stories that are set in a place after the other story that deals with the consequences and actions and things that occurred in that other story.
I turned you off! I'm sorry. I thought I turned off the ball thing. Apologies.
Oh, no, you're okay. But like endlessly going over and over and over, like without ever like letting something end, I think is like one of the worst aspects of comics. It's why comics keep restarting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like a lot of the best stories, while building off of all those aspects, are able to just be like, we're telling this story, the end.
Yep.
That's the entire story.
Also, random aside, I'm gonna need your help. Where do I go? I have no idea where I'm supposed to go right now. Can you give me a hint?
I last finished Dark Souls 1 in, I think, 2019. It's been a few years.
Yes. Jan the Human, you are correct. I am completely lost because I'm wandering in circles right now.
So you need to get back up to where the
ball thing was?
The ball thing is dropping down. I'm not sure you have enough health right now to survive that, but and you need to redirect it again.
Screw it. I'll give it a go. I don't have enough souls. I don't have enough souls that we're too worried about risking death, so.
Souls come and go.
Yeah, well, when you lose 40,000 souls one night and you want to cry. I'm sure you've had that happen.
I have. yeah, it's. I kind of lost my train of thought.
I'm so sorry. This is again.
no,
This is me just trying to be like doing stuff.
We're doing two things at once. It's all good. Um, yeah. No, and so I just I don't know what we can chat about. So I just finished watching your Matrix Resurrections video.
Oh yeah. So for those of you who don't
hour
know,
or two ago.
2 hours, and also I'm apologizing to my patrons because when I talked to you, so I did. For those of you who don't know, next Friday I have a 2-hour Matrix video coming out on Matrix Resurrections that I'm really really proud of. Also, Aranock has one that is also going to be amazing. But
Yeah.
it's a 2-hour video that I'm really really proud of. But after speaking to you, Aranock, I realized there's one like 2-second thing, like 2-minute thing that I need to add to the video. So I'm actually so the video is going to be 2 more minutes longer that I'm going to fix up tonight. I'll share it out with patrons. Patrons and Aranock both got to see it early. And that video is going to come out on next Friday. So if you're not a patron, you sadly haven't watched it yet. And if you are a patron, there's 2 extra minutes that you're going to get on Friday. Or earlier, depending on when I get it. But yeah. So thank you, and thank you for watching that, Aranock. I love hearing like your and the patrons like responses to it because I'm actually very excited about it. And I was actually stupid ball about that's my health now.
Yeah.
But I was just very excited to hear people's thoughts on that video because it was like, I'm just gonna put all my thoughts about capitalism into this video.
No, it was great. I'm gonna preface this with I am hyper nitpicky about takes around the Matrix films, just to the point that it isn't. Also, I think you need to turn the ball thing so that it's shooting down to the right of like. I'm trying to remember. Like down the slope that's to the right of where you came into this room.
So that way?
Yeah, I think that way. Yeah.
Got it. So
yeah, so I'm hyper nitpicky about people's takes on the Matrix because I think often a lot of people like do not do a very good job of reading it, which is totally a dickish thing to say, but like, I don't know. I'll say this. I wrote the Matrix script, the vast majority of this Matrix script, and I read it to a bunch of people, so they can confirm that I did all these things well before Matrix Resurrections released. But I went to Matrix Resurrections in theater, and I was like vibrating in my seat because I was like, "It says I'm right. I'm the smart one. I understand."
That was my feeling too. Watching Resurrection, I love Resurrection. I'm like, oh, this just validates everything I've always said about this franchise, and I love it.
Yeah, so I'm so like I just was sitting there like I'm super right, and it's not, and I want to be clear, it's not just that like the film says the original film is about transness,
mm-hmm.
which a large like I'm digging into that, but it's that it's in the tiny specific details. For example, I'm just going to bring one example. And you know what? Just to give it like an idea of like how in depth this video is, I will just read one reading of a single scene. I will read my reading of a single scene just to like give context to how much I am wrapping into this reading.
Also, Meg, thank you so much. You were lovely. Meg, I appreciate it. Yeah, this, for those of you who don't know, my FFS was supposed to be tomorrow, and it got canceled. So it's been like not a great week. So, or not tomorrow. It's supposed to be Tuesday. Sorry, in 2 more days. So the 25th was originally the date. But Meg, thank you so much for the super chat. You are lovely, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much for the super chat.
Yeah. So. So for context of the structure of the videos, I'm going through like literally scene by scene because this film is so trans. Like if you see my other trans readings, I usually do more things about like this character's journey and how that relates to like, but you know, structure follows what the reading entails details wise. And the Matrix film, the story is just the trans story. It's so intricately woven into every single scene that it's like really hard to separate it. But here is my reading of just the office scene. The following day, Neo is called into their boss's office. "You believe that you are special," is a phrase often said by bigots in real life with respect to queer people discussing our identities, a precursor to the special snowflake nonsense that would become popular a decade later, eventually just becoming Snowflake. Also relevant is the boss, a figure here representing patriarchal conformity, telling Neo how to act. If an employee has a problem, the company has a problem. This is language used by bosses to indirectly discuss someone being queer and discourage it, because the employer doesn't want to directly acknowledge they are discussing queerness, so they describe it with a euphemism, a problem. He's also doing this while dead-naming Neo, continuously saying Mr. Anderson, emphasizing their gender, as well as some of his speech pattern and behavior reflects that of Agent Smith later in the film. So, everything I said there is reinforced by The Matrix Resurrections, down to the point that Agent Smith is literally the boss figure. Like, and I wrote that reading before seeing Matrix Resurrections. I have like a dozen people that can confirm this. Like, I just was right about that scene and about this moment with Smith. To keep going.
But yeah, no, I just want to say, like, totally agree with you. Like, so in my reading with that is like, it's very much like the dead naming of Neo is kind of like, it's so on the nose intentional. Gosh darn it!
It's at times aggressive with it, and it's like, if you pay attention to who uses what names when, and not just that, it's not just Neo. For example, I talk about this way later in the video, and we dig into the implications of it. But Cypher's real name, dead name, Cypher's real name is Cypher, but Cypher's dead name is Mr. Reagan. He's literally named after Ronald Reagan.
Yep.
Like President Ronald Reagan. It's not subtle. This film is not subtle about being about like post-AIDS epidemics, effect on the queer community, but like to some degree. I don't dig super far into that, but I do dig into it a little bit with discussing. But again,
also I just want to say real quick. I apologize.
Yeah.
I apologize, Aranock, but I just want to say I missed Adrian's super chat earlier. Adrian, I agree with you. The Folding Ideas NFT essay. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the stream, but I think it was one of the best. I think the most comprehensive and best analyses of NFTs I've seen. Like, I've seen many videos about NFTs and why they're a scam and why they're a problem. His was probably the most thorough, and also the most, like, I've seen mostly talk about NFTs, but I've seen so little like analysis of the culture around NFTs, and he broke that down really, really well. Anyways, I agree with you 100%, Adrian. I just want to make sure I addressed that super chat before I got too far late. But anyways, you were talking about Matrix being trans.
Yeah. So that's just the first paragraph. This is like a multi-page description of the scene's importance. So, as well, some of his speech pattern and behavior reflects that of Agent Smith later in the film. Immediately afterward, the delivery person says Thomas Anderson, to which Neo responds uncomfortably, almost apprehensively, "Yeah, that's me." When you're still performing your assigned gender at birth, but are becoming aware of your transness, these types of awkward interactions happen often. I still get letters and packages addressed to a name that no longer exists. This entire section in The Office is emphasizing a connection between capitalism and patriarchy and showing how capitalist institutions are suffocating for Neo. The cubicle is treated like a prison by the camera, a physical space representing the metaphorical cage of Alice's heteronormativity, a concept explained in depth in Alice's Unintentionally Queer. Seriously, watch it. It's also a foreshadowing of the pod that Neo is actually in, both serving the same purpose, making Neo a cog in the machine that produces something for the system. They are recursively within systems. Note that this pod inside the Matrix is a construct placed into Neo's mind, just like Alice's heteronormativity is a social construct placed there by the system. And the cubicle is as much about reality and simulation as the social construct. As well, the cubicle is devoid of life and humanity, as empty as the prison cell mentioned earlier. Throughout the film, the only spaces that feel personal and alive are those filled with queerness. This entire sequence starts from the viewpoint of the blue-collar workers outside, alienated from the environment in the same way that Neo is. Corporate entities have often been in conflict with queer people, often purposely not hiring us or firing us for who we are. I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to skip that paragraph because it's just a big long takedown of like trans people experience discrimination. Here's a bunch of stats about it, but and I don't feel like being depressing on the stream. I'm gonna leave it at it's not good, but there is a fun interaction. So I do a pretty good Smith impression, and I'm playing Smith in the video as the oppositional force to me. framing device is that Smith is interrogating me in the same way that he interrogates Neo in the one scene in the first Matrix film. And that's all going to be animated. And I've been working on that animation for a while. It's fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I get to the, oh yeah. Well, there are technically protections against discrimination. Many companies will never hire a trans person and will find some excuse to fire a trans person for coming out. Well, they shouldn't be forced to hire people for woke quotas. People who are competent and have never done anything incorrect with their job should not be fired for something they can't control and doesn't affect their work. And then I dig into all the stats, but I'm going to skip past to just finishing the reading of the scene. When Neo receives the phone, it rings with a horror film musical sting, and Neo is concerned that someone would hear him being contacted by Morpheus, a queer person. At the same time, the camera shifts into position that indicates Neo having power, whereas before they were purely disempowered. Contact with queerness is empowering. When we combine the fear about being heard with Neo not being able to go through with escaping, we can see that this is about them not being ready to come out of the Matrix. Get it?
Mm-hmm.
You're too scared to come out?
Yeah.
This film is aggressively trans in every single scene.
It is very trans. Also, sorry, I just want to make sure because
I'm just like where my script is at. No, go ahead.
I'm excited to see the video when you finish it because it's a reading that needs to be done. I mean I talk about in also oh my god, I hate this thing. I hate these snake men. They're the worst. But yes, people are literally saying like I just want to make sure to address the stream a little bit, but the fact that I am like not good at rolling, I appreciate. But yeah, something I want to just mention. So you watched my Matrix video already, and oh my god, I hate this. Anyways, the thing that I like to talk about is like how they connect the Matrix. How they universalize a trans experience in the Matrix, and how they take the trans experience and sort of connect it to like how a trans experience of like feeling anxiety about us being stuck in a system that aggressively genders us like is actually very similar to how many people feel under capitalist systems. This like anxiety that people feel living in systems like this is actually like not just a trans exclusive feeling, but one that all of us sort of feel, because gender is also like a construct made of these types of systems. And so I just really love how the like strength of the Matrix movies is that they take these same anxieties that like many a trans person feels and takes that and then sort of ubiquitizes it and says like, okay, this feeling, because this is something that I always like to talk about in my videos and like the things that I say, so that people tend to think of trans experience and trans feelings as like, oh, it's you're so different and strange and like I could never understand, like even when they're trying to be supportive of trans people, it's like you're so different and strange and I can never understand you and I support you. Like you see it so many times. Like in fact in my video I did just yesterday about like my experience dying repeatedly. In my experience, I love how when I finally figure out where I'm supposed to go, I can't get back there. But anyways, I talk about yesterday in my video about like the fact that my FFS got canceled, and talking about dysphoria and stuff. I got so many comments, really wonderful comments, and I'm not insulting anybody or attacking anybody on it, but I got so many comments being like, I can never understand, like from cis people, it's like, I can never understand your feeling of dysphoria. And then they would immediately start talking about how they connected with that feeling of dysphoria in their own way. They're like, I could never understand how you feel, but then I related to your feeling. And I'm like, because a trans feeling is not, like the anxieties and feeling may be gender specific for trans people, but the anxiety and the feeling is by no means a exclusive to trans person feeling. And I think that, why do I keep dying?
So the central aspect of my video, the entire conclusion, is basically an explanation for why cis people get so discomforted by people explaining the trans reading of the film, that fundamentally I'll go grab a couple of choice. I don't want to, spoil everything, but because we're already talking about it, may as well. So,
and also, thank you. By the way, everyone's in the chat responding to my essay. You just said you're lovely and wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate that, everyone. I as I spoke about in the video, like the feeling that I was feeling about wanting FFS is nothing to do with how I actually look. It's just sort of my own brain stuff. So that's the reason. But I appreciate everyone being so much so kind and so wonderful, both in the comments of that video and right now in stream. You're all lovely, and I appreciate you. So thank you so much, you lovely, wonderful, amazing people.
Yeah, so I guess I'm gonna break two things down at the same time. So the reason I've been making Unintentionally Queer is the purpose of the series is about getting people to understand queer perspectives on art and why that matters. Why engaging with our perspective on art matters and why it, you know, benefits everyone to
100%. I cannot. No, I just can't. I can't agree with you. Like there's every single time that I do a video talking about like queer stuff outside, like, because on this channel people are already down for you all expect like me. I'm like, Jesse's gonna talk queer, but when I talk about queer stuff at like GameSpot or stuff, not to insult like GameSpot, because GameSpot is nothing but supportive of me, but the comments will always be like, why do I need to care about queer stuff and I just want to play the games? I'm like, but games, like gaming, the idea of gaming is inherently queer. That you're putting on other identities. Like the whole concept of gaming is inherently a queer context. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's all good. So it's that's why I started the series. But my big point, and I'm going to read a little bit of it, and I'm going to get performatively angry. I'm not actually annoyed. I just can't really read these words without like getting into character, because I'm an actor. That's what I do. So I'm not going to read the entire ending. There's a lot more to it, but I'm just going to read a little tiny chunk that I think will be very illuminating for some people. That says some pretty aggressive things about cis people not liking the trans reading, but like I don't know. I've held this anger and I want to let go of it. So, and the Matrix sequels are good, actually. Sophie and Sarah go in detail about how and why the red pill was so easily co-opted by the far right. I want to add who's to blame for that. By ripping out the explicit queerness, the red pill, which is fucking estrogen, became much easier for fascists to repurpose it to anything where you're given a major revelation about why society feels off to you. I think the large part of why the film is in a state where it is co-opted by these groups is because the studios removed the explicit transness. Because unsurprisingly, Nazis fucking hate us. And if you go look at the interview where Lily said the film was trans, the comments are full of the exact type of people denying this element of the film. Hell, look at them throwing tantrums about Matrix Resurrections being explicitly queer. They cannot stand the idea of it being trans because doing so destroys their ability to relate and integrate it into their propaganda. To relate to us, to relate to what they view as degenerate, would be such an inherently self-destructive act as to their fundamental core tenets of self-identity, as it would entail viewing themselves as something to be destroyed, that their only response is naturally violent. Hey, remember when Smith self-exploded? Queerness in art has been downplayed for so long that often it could only appear in metaphor and subtext that allows people to ignore us and our existence. We are so ignored that the film's recent releases still contain the dead names of the directors in their credits years after they came out. Because queerness is so discredited that people will deny it even when it is explicit. We are still at a point where developers who wrote extremely gay romance have to tell players they are clearly gay and always have been about characters. See my video on Destiny for more on that. Queerness, even when created by queer people, is downplayed at all levels. It has to fight to be seen against both the studios and the audiences who do not want us to be seen or heard. That's why understanding the Matrix is trans matters, because discrediting this reading is perpetuating the anti-queer actions of studio executives and is discrediting the very real experiences of the trans audience of this film. To ignore the inherent transness damages any other reading of the film, and while yes, many readings of a film can exist simultaneously, that does not mean those readings have value. Ignoring transness makes it inherently lesser. And frankly, I'm sick of cis people's discomfort with the fact that they can relate to trans experiences. That's what it comes down to fundamentally. Cis people related to the Matrix and are affronted by us saying it's explicitly trans because it means they related to the trans experience. It means they related to us. Cis people are uncomfortable with being connected with the other, and that's why they downplay it. Part of the point of making this series is trying to get non-queer people to feel more comfortable with understanding and relating to queer perspectives and experiences. Sorry.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off because I thought you were finished. I was letting you go. Can I just say, can we give Aranock all the snaps for that? Like, that is legitimately no, because like what you just said in like 300 words is what I try to touch upon, like just vaguely touch upon in a 2-hour video essay. You just said in about 300 words. So I just want to say that was extremely wonderful. That was fan-freaking-tastic. I adored everything you just said.
I love performing that last section because I've read the script to now about a dozen trans people and several cis people as well for full feedback. And there's some stuff I'm going to say in this video that like no one else knows. For example, I've got some major details from my friend Ken, who's his wife is Sunny Megatron. You might know if you know anything about like sex education in the U.S. and stuff. They're both wonderful fucking people. Ken is just an incredible guy, and he runs the charity stream D&D game that I play in on Mondays with John the Duncan and We're in Hell and Chill Goblin and Xander Corvus. We raise money for various mutual aid groups, including the sex worker mutual aid group in Vegas that Xander's a part of. So, but because direct action fucking matters. It's not just about like
Oh yeah,
charity's great and all, but mutual aid is way more better because it gets the help to the people who need it directly.
Yes, no, my plan and my hope is I'm doing a charity stream next month. And my I'm gonna try. I haven't done the work to set it up yet, but I'm planning on doing a charity stream next month, and I'm gonna do what Bad Bunny did. I was on Bad Bunny's stream for trans charity. Mm-hmm. Bad Bunny did a really good. She did half was going to a trans related charity, and the other half that was raised goes to direct action. So that's what the aim. That's what the aim is gonna be for.
I think that's great. I think understanding like the different power structures and how they're helpful in different ways is super, super important. Mm-hmm. Like the organizational structure of Trans Lifeline is an incredibly important charity that I think we should be supporting as leftists. And I think like targeting both simultaneously is a really, really great way of motivating people to engage with it. And every interaction I've had with Bad Bunny has been really nice. She's a really, really nice person. Mm-hmm.
Also, I want to point out three things. I got a few super chats that I just want to quick address. But before that happens, I'm not going to name the person because I'm not here to attack anybody. But what is funny is while you were talking, someone in chat, and I'm not naming the person at all, in the chat has been removed, but someone said this is not about a video game and it's a game, it's about homosexuality. We're trying to promote it to children or something, but this is lame. It was like kind of speaking to your whole idea. It was like, this video game isn't about being gay, which is exactly what you were talking about, which is just funny.
It's funny. It kind of proves itself. Like
proves your point. But anyways, I also just want to quick address the super chat. So apologies.
Yeah, please do.
I will, like I said, I will make every effort to make sure I address every super chat. So apologies everyone that I'm delayed on them, but I have been keeping track. If you do super chats, I'm trying to respond to chat, and I will respond as best I can there. But also super chats, I will also make sure I always address. So if I missed one, just don't worry, I will make sure I get to it. But John Vince says Tolkien versus Lovecraft. Much of Tolkien's stories have a very mature and bittersweet pathos, while Lovecraft is often simplistic and juvenile. Definitely true. But there are issues also we could talk about with Tolkien as well, though I think they were much more subconscious than very on the surface as Lovecraft was.
Like there's that one private letter he sent that describes the orcs as a term I don't feel comfortable saying aloud. Mm-hmm. But I'll leave it at 1920s eugenics vibes. It's not a good time. It ends in oid, and that's all I'm gonna say. You can figure out what it means. Yeah,
so things to talk about with Tolkien, but I would argue, but definitely eugenics vibe, which is a whole other conversation about the time. But Lovecraft was also much more vehemently actively
and then
racist.
The Haradrim are a weird representation of Middle Eastern people, and like it's not subtle about it. There's
a lot.
There's a lot, and I think it's just as important to discuss complicated racism as the simple people, because like. I think it's easy to just be like, Lovecraft's a racist piece of shit, and that's it. You don't really need to say much else because it's so blatant and obvious. I think Tolkien requires a more in-depth conversation about the ways that he's shaped modern fantasy and the ways that his racism has seeped into things like D&D and how we perceive species as, the world of hats issue.
But yeah, sorry, I just want to make sure quick. I am also about to order tacos because I ordered tacos for dinner, so that's part of... Sorry. Nice. If you see people saying tacos in the stream, that's because the lore of this channel is that at 9:30 I ordered tacos. And then also just want to quick say, just these other ones. Adrian says, let Wachowski's remake Ace Ventura Pet Detective. I don't think Ace Ventura Pet Detective needs to be remade or even really... I mean, it's worth discussing and how horrible it is. But I don't think that needs to be reclaimed. I don't think that's a thing worth reclaiming, I guess, by trans people. And then B. Arthur, thank you so much for your super chat. Heart to you. Though now that I say that, I'm kind of like, I would be interested to see an interesting discussion of that film by like trans creators like the Wachowskis. But anyways, Bottom Barrel Budget Films. Heart to you said, thanks to the B-Day wish last week, and I'm very excited to see your Matrix video. Also, super chat won't let me say queer. Great stream, Broski Queen. I'm sorry, that's weird. I'm sorry that the super chat won't let you say queer. That's strange. But
welcome to YouTube.
Huzzah, YouTube. And then excited to see your Matrix video. I am so excited for everyone to see the Matrix video. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. You don't need to spoil the whole thing, but I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. And you can be critical of it, Aranock. You can be like, this sucked and I hated it.
I fully support your Resurrections video. It's going in with my like 4 Matrix videos. I feel comfortable shouting. Look, when I say I'm fucking picky about opinions about the Matrix, I do mean it. There are like 4 pieces that I would recommend. There's a 5th that I shout out just because I did draw some influence from it, but I fundamentally disagree with aspects of the way that it reads. It's the trans reading that views Trinity as being Neo, which kind of misses the entire point that like lesbian queer love is integral to Neo learning to understand her gender identity in the same way that it was for Lana. And that's not me like reading into things. Matrix Resurrection says I'm right.
Yep. Also, I want to just quick say, Carlisle the Cinephile, hey friends, great news. My girlfriend and I have agreed to move in together. I'm so excited. That's amazing, Carlisle. Carlisle has been on this channel for a very long time and has gone through ups and downs, and I'm everything for the past 2 weeks, it sounds, Carlisle, like things have been going really well for you. So I just want to make sure I'm just really glad that you're doing well, Carlisle. So heart to you, my friend. And then I also just saw a new one, and then I'm going to order some tacos while you also continue to talk about the Matrix. But Bothered Boy, heart to you. And this is actually for you, Aranock. Says, hi, Aranock. Your videos are great, and I can't wait to see your Matrix one. I can't wait either. I'm very excited about it. So
thank you. Yeah, Bothered Boy does daily coverage of news stuff. That if you are interested in news coverage from a leftist perspective, he's a good dude. I trust him.
Wait, is Bothered Boy a YouTube channel?
Yeah, YouTube channel. Yeah.
Well, Bothered Boy, I'm gonna subscribe to you right now.
Yeah, the format's kind of like I'm bothered by this thing today.
Well, you have.
But it's not just negative. It's lots of different different perspectives.
Oh, that's good. That's wonderful. That's really good.
I do need a shirt that says Resurrection says I'm right. I am gonna set like a Patreon goal reward for the long term that's about like if I get to a certain point with Patreon, I will make a follow-up called The Matrix Resurrections is Right. That one's going to be weird. I don't really know how to describe it other than what if I start as an essay where I dig into how The Matrix Resurrections says that my first video essay is right, and then reuse footage in the same way that The Matrix Resurrections comments on the original Matrix by reusing footage, but then it breaks down into this sort of like really complicated discussion of being trans in public and Bo Burnham understanding Baudrillard. and I'm going to talk about things like how I don't owe people my trauma, which is this thing that gets imposed on marginalized people a lot.
All the time.
And it's going to be a takedown of like parasocial relationships. But part of why I wanted to delay is basically I want to pay Molly Noise a better rate, but I can't afford a better rate right now. That's the thing for the music when I do make the follow-up Matrix video.
Also, do you know where I'm supposed to go next? I'm ordering tacos right now, but do you know where I'm supposed to go next?
Yeah, I think you need to get up there and then do what I said with the redirecting of the thing, and then I think you need to run down one of the hallways where the balls go down.
Well, I did that one. The one that was like it broke the hallway. But I don't know where I'm supposed to go after that because it ended in like another fall, and I don't want to fall off, and I forgot the lizard people. I'll order tacos, I swear. The lizard people sounds like a band, like the Village People, except for lizards. And God, dang it!
It's all good.
Anyways,
easy breezy,
lemon lizard people.
I couldn't figure out something that worked with Easy Breezy CoverGirl. I was like, Death Girl.
Easy,
like, that doesn't work.
Easy Breezy Axes of death. Jesse's losing it ranting about lizard people. I will rant. I hate these. I can handle everything else. Blighttown that had those stupid mosquitoes. I can handle the mosquitoes. These lizard people just coming at me with their freaking stabby things, and I'm not here to parry. I need to learn to parry. Maybe that's what I just need to do.
Yes, yeah. As I said, sends. But also, here's the thing: you can run through this entire area with basically without fighting any of them, if you really want to. It takes a little practice and know-how. And
why would you why would you tell me that? Why would you tell me that?
You can run through pretty much every area of Dark Souls without ever fighting anything.
Well, I heard you can like beat this game with like I heard you could beat this game with like no level. You can like try to not level up or anything. Also, I'm very upset right now. This Taco Bell does not have my beefy burrito, and it's upsetting me currently. Anyways, sorry.
There's a YouTube channel that I cannot recommend because it makes some edgy jokes that I really don't agree with, but I do find fascinating. Where the person who runs the channel plays through the entirety of Dark Souls games using only the broken sword, which does 1 damage.
Why do people hate themselves?
And so like some boss fights take hours to do.
Dear and I'm just heavens.
It's such a bonkers series to watch, and it's one of those things where you're like, it's impressive. I mean, the guy has some questionable jokes that I feel really uncomfortable about, so I will not say the name or recommend the channel, but I do find the videos fascinating. I think we can engage with art that's problematic and not be like, the problematic parts are good because I like this thing. Which, speaking of,
also Anna, by the way, Anna, super chat, thank you Anna, you are beautiful, I appreciate you. Anyway, sorry, Anna just told me where to go next, so I appreciate you, Anna. You are can everyone in the chat just say thank you to Anna, because Anna, not to disparage anyone else who may have already said that I missed, but Anna, you are lovely and I adore you.
That's very helpful. So fair warning, if you are someone who evangelizes the Wachowski sisters a lot, you may have some unpleasant surprises that the start of my video is me platforming several people of color talking about the complex ways the Wachowskis have been racist. But I think it needs to be talked about, and a lot of white trans people really pissed me off by getting a friend of mine banned from fucking Twitter for a week for bullshit reasons because he talked about Orientalism in the Wachowskis' work.
Yeah, that is one of the major problems, especially with their like use of dreadlocks in both in real life and in their works, and then also Orientalism in like it's why am I blanking?
Yeah.
The movie that's like a precursor to Sense Cloud Atlas. Most
Cloud Atlas. And I like this isn't some like the Wachowskis are evil, you can't touch it. I fucking love the Wachowskis' work. It's some of the most important art to me as a human being. It matters to me.
We can critically engage with creators without deifying them. Yeah.
Bingo. And it has been driving me up the wall because I feel like I'm gonna, like, it's a big, long, deep conversation. I'm not going to try to get into the specifics here because I don't think I'm the voice to be saying it. I'm just platforming voices. But I'm just... I implore you, if you have ever defended the Wachowskis using yellowface, which is what it is, having a white person dressed up as an Asian person is yellowface and unacceptable at a core level.
Oh yeah, my
think about it. And the point of the video, and I really hope that I pulled this off. I've talked to so many people, so many other trans people who like love the Wachowskis' work that matters to them. So many people of color who the same but have issues with the racism and stuff. To make sure I've gotten this right, this is the part of the video that I've been so fucking anxious about, and I have done the work of finding sensitivity writers who know what the fuck they're talking about. Because I felt that someone needed to say something. And it's not, it doesn't take away any of the positive aspects of the art that you make. Tron Legacy is one of my favorite films of all time. I ranted about sexism in it for 7 minutes in my video. Like,
yeah,
it's not about deifying a work. I think inherency as a concept is deeply harmful at its core. I think the idea of people are inherently good, or films that do X are inherently good. It's not about that, and it's never been about that, and it makes me really in Cloud Atlas, yeah, not in the Matrix itself. Um,
But yeah,
okay,
no, I agree.
if you disagree, you can watch the video. I explain in depth.
So here's my thing too. Like, I'm currently working on a video that's sort of like inspired by the recent Joss Whedon stuff, but it's also going to be like talking about like how the deification of creators enables more harm to continue, and it creates the toxic sort of like us versus them narrative that I always fight against. Like, why do you, and like we're talking about like harmful creators, like I just did a 3-hour video about Gene Roddenberry, and I spoke very openly about not only my love for the work that he created, and like look at everything that I own, half is Star Trek. Like, of course I love the stuff he's created, but like the very fact that he was a deeply problematic and harmful person, both in his fiction and in real life, and we can hold space for recognizing that he is someone who made work that inspired, that moved people, that is still doing good to this day, but he also did great harm. And he was not an intrinsically good or bad person. He was a human being who we should hold responsible for the harm that he caused, and that doesn't take away from the inspiration that he gave to the world, but you cannot look away from the harm that is caused, and vice versa. Yeah. You can still be inspired by these things too. Like, there's a quote that I always come back to that I love from Doctor Who. Sorry, I just like it's a quote from Doctor Who. Yeah, it's a quote from Doctor Who, and it was applied to mental health and mental health struggles, but I also sort of connect it in a lot of other things. It was in the episode that had Vincent van Gogh in it, that in Doctor Who, and the doctor says the good I forget the exact wording, but it was essentially like the good times don't take away from the bad, but neither do the bad erase the good. Like, the good doesn't erase the bad, but the bad doesn't erase the good. It's like both things can coexist, and they will coexist in both things. Also, I know I missed a few super chats, but yeah, it's just it's important to recognize that stuff, and be like, I love the Wachowskis. They are my favorite filmmakers. I think they are fantastic. I have been inspired by their work over and over and over again. They have some harmful stuff, and while I can like sit here and be like with the yellow faces, like I see how they got there, I see what their intention was, but it's deeply harmful for two white creators to do something like that.
Well, it's this thing of like, I can love their work and love all of these aspects of their work and dislike this thing. And I think the important bit here isn't like, it's not about, because I dislike a lot of the ways that people treat it as like a call out thing, which is just not helpful. I treat it more as like, I want to discuss actions, statements, and patterns of behavior. And I want people to change. And especially when I'm talking about like this, what I'm really talking about is the white trans audience that has continuously defended those things when there's no reason to. It has no effect on these other things. And if you listen to people of color who are talking about this, actually listen, not what you think they're saying, but actually listen to what they're saying. None of them are saying stop watching Wachowski films. Most of them are fans. Like, it's infuriating, because it's this thing with like the concept, the lie of cancel culture. I want to be very specific. Actually, I wrote a thing earlier today. I'm just gonna
while you're doing that, I'm just going to quick respond to these super chats really quickly.
Yeah.
Mike B, thank you so much. Deep conversation about trans cinema, ordering Taco Bell, plus playing Dark Souls, dying a lot. Yeah, that sounds about right. Andrew said we can also critically engage with creators without outright vilifying or rejecting them outright. Isn't that swell? And yeah, I know, crazy stuff.
I'm not saying reject them. Like, that's a really important thing here. At no point am I ever saying, I'm saying engage with their art critically, engage with the things that they have made with the understanding that they come from a rich white perspective, and that has an influence on how they move through the world and how they interact with.
Here's my thing on it, and I see some more Sarah, thank you for your super chat and for saying nuances thing. Love you, Sarah. B. Arthur, all of our faves are problematic. Yes, and this is actually something that I want to say too, is that no work of art is perfect. There are works of art that we can love and say, like, I love this work of art. I adore it. It spoke to me. It speaks to me for these reasons. That's why I make video essays about Star Trek, about like why it speaks to me, why I love it, why I adore it. But it's important to recognize that no work of art is perfect because no person is perfect. And the idea that there is a purely, as you were saying, Aranock, the idea of something is like purely 100% perfect, is a masterpiece, is a da 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 da. It takes away from engaging with it. And this is the other thing too. Is like I don't want to erase the harm that was caused by certain things, like the harm that like using yellowface in a movie has caused. But I will also say is like what I, as someone who gets inspired by certain works, who likes to talk about works, is like I like to engage with the things that are difficult to engage with in a work, because I think talking about those things is why we talk about art. People seem to think that art is like this thing that is meant to just inherently inspire and like speak to you on this deep level and just like should need no conversation. Sorry, I think it's just we're supposed to talk about it, and we're supposed to talk about the things that like worked and didn't work, and it's like it's all that conversation. Anyways, thank you. I didn't mean to steamroll you, but I just wanted to say.
You're all good. I'm gonna read two short things. One was just a thread that I made earlier today because I was like a little bit fed up with something that I'd noticed. And it was inspired by a mutual of mine who's heavily involved in the organizing of the like Blizzard unionizing that's currently going on at Raven, the Q&A branch.
Excellent. I was very pleased with that.
Awesome. Go support the like strike fund and everything. They're doing great work. But she was talking about like a response that she'd gotten from someone, and I had said like sexism and patriarchy places non-cis men as inherently duplicitous in nature. As such, the possibility of having good intentions is excluded from possibility by the system of thought when it comes to us. And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about all these other situations that have gone on. And I want to be very clear, this isn't about any individual single situation. This is about like dozens and dozens of different things that I've seen over the last couple of years. Before someone's like, oh, you're talking about this person. I'm kind of, but not them, like none of them specifically. No one, this is just a general broad aspect that I've noticed about like discourse. So thinking about this in a broad context, the presumption of duplicity underlies so much the way non-cis men are treated online. Disproportionately towards trans femme people of color and or people of color, there is a consistent pattern of trying to justify this view of the person based on their identity. The justification is post hoc. Anything they do wrong, merely a confirmation of this presumption. It's why discussing any sort of incorrect action by a non-cis man gets complicated very fast, as it's used as an excuse to harass them. The response is often disproportionate and extreme, because it's not really about the action. This is what some people deeply incorrectly call cancel culture. Often the people who initially make the critique are merely expressing discomfort or disagreement with the action. But people looking for this excuse, which, let's be honest, is disproportionately cis white men, get to express their misogynistic views in a way that also lets them play at savior narratives simultaneously. Any blowback from the fans of the person critiqued gets directed at the marginalized people who expressed disagreement, creating a cycle, because once again, those same type of people get to guilt-free go after some villain. It's not cancel culture, which is a right-wing rhetoric that we shouldn't reinforce and support, but the structures of patriarchy. Allowing this semantic obfuscation creates a situation where people think the problem is not our current social systems of bigotry, but instead with the evil marginalized people for critiquing someone. This results in marginalized people constantly having to centralize the emotions of someone who did or said something hurtful, as they constantly have to disavow harassers who are co-opting. And if they express things in not the perfectly correct way, they're the actual problem. It's cycles of policing marginalized people's emotions and behaviors that ignores all underlying systems. Just be clear, if you participate in harassment, that's shit, fuck you. But classifying all people critiquing someone as inherently harassers for critiquing them has often only resulted in fans of that person harassing others as well. And all of this is facilitated by the algorithms of these websites incentivizing misrepresentation, sensationalization, and conflict. Basically, don't participate in quote tweet dunking. It's unproductive. And know that people will take your words and twist and run off with them. We should critique harmful actions, but unfortunately it must be done in a delicate manner to avoid co-option as much as possible. And it's something that's really bothered me because cancel culture, like as a rhetoric, has a history. It comes from the right wing and it means a very specific thing. And what it does is it conflates all things as being the same. And it creates this narrative where everyone critiquing is part of a mob, right? That mob is out to get someone. And it's really unfortunate because it's a bunch of different individuals, often with drastically different and sometimes contradictory goals and viewpoints. And that makes it really, really, really hard to talk about this, because anyone who's been experiencing that type of harassment mob, which again, is not fucking justified if they've done something harmful. Like, you shouldn't be getting harassed, period. Full stop, bar none. But when they're in that headspace, when they're in that space and that's all they're experiencing, what it feels like isn't necessarily reality. But it's such a frustrating thing to watch because, there are creators I really, I have certain aspects of respect for who have repeated these types of sentiments, and I get where they're coming from, and I want to be very clear, this isn't a fucking attack on them, because otherwise that would just be doing the exact thing I'm trying to critique. And this is why it turns into, it's really hard to get out of the sensationalized thing. So some things that I try to do whenever I talk about critiquing people outside of very specific contexts, like when I'm talking about a specific work of art, I will talk about the creator's stuff and the work of art, but again, it's not about like they're evil, it's about talking about the action. But most of the time when I see problematic behavior online, I don't talk about the person. I never mention their name. I don't engage in that. What I do is I talk about the action in and of itself, because it is extremely rare that only one person's behaving that way.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And it's something I learned. Oh God, I have stuck down here. I'm just gonna let myself die. Oh, everything here is awful. Everything down here is just the worst. Anyways, sorry.
Okay.
But I just run around this corner and there's just awful things that just want to murder me. But yes, no, this is 100% true. What was I? But no, this is something that I learned exactly too with my essays, that like, I want to say two things about that. Like, one thing that happened to me, and I'm not going to name the creator, but it even came up on Twitter this week, where like in a video, I used a clip from a creator that is fairly controversial. And I used the clip because the creator articulated a position that I'm like, this is what I wish to argue, and I wish to show that this point of view is something that people articulate. And it is, and it was not me attacking that creator as a person. I was not calling that person out. I was not trying to attack him. And I'm saying this, I'm just saying it because I don't want to like cause a whole conversation about this specific person.
Yeah, totally.
But like, and I'm not trying to, like, if people take issue with my take, that's totally fine. But it was like, I'm just saying because someone articulated this position, and I just wish to do it. And I even saw like coming up this week, because there was controversy about that specific creator, that somebody was like, well, Jessie like called out this creator and like straw manned this creator and attacked this creator. And I was like, I didn't do that. And I just was using it to articulate the position. And I should have, to be fair, because of the way I wish it didn't need to be stated. But because of the way YouTube works, like, people just assume like when you use a clip of someone, you're calling them out. And I'm like, no. I'm not here to call out this person. I was just using it as a way to articulate that this position that I'm talking about exists. And then the second thing too is like when you're talking about harassment, I talk about, I continually talk about with, like, I use J.K. Rowling because she's such a perfect example of so many things. Like, I don't mean to just focus and hone in on her, but, like,
I think she's a useful example because, frankly, J.K. Rowling has such a disgusting amount of power that we can talk about her as an individual and it will have zero effect on her.
Exactly. Exactly. But, like, I talk about, like, her, like, whenever I talk about her issues, talk about, like, the things that she brings up and the things that she discusses, it's like, I always constantly say, it's like, the harassment she gets is she should not be getting that, and we should stop that. That's not saying we don't criticize her. Like, she should be heavily criticized and shamed whenever her or her work gets brought up. Like, we should be like, she is participating in a dogmatic hate movement against trans people. Like, that needs to be stated. The harassment she receives, I do think, is like, I understand where it is coming from, out of an emotional place that people are feeling because they are being attacked and abused, and I totally understand that. I don't think that is something that we should be perpetuating or accepting. And then the other thing with J.K. Rowling is whenever I talk about her too, I say always, I'm like, I am not here to attack her as a person. I'm not here. What I am here to do is critique her actions, the effect that she's had, and the power that she is wielding to harm a marginalized group. And so I'm not here to like attack J.K. Rowling's humanity in any way, shape, or form, and to call in question her humanity, even though she would call into question mine and many trans people's. But
I think it actually, like, a really an important aspect of that conversation that I think is often missed is that to treat bigots as inhuman is to give them an out for their behavior.
Yes,
It is
100%.
taking away their autonomy and decision to do these things. They are choosing to do harm, and our critique and our discussion should come from that place of this is an autonomous human being who has decided to be this way.
Yeah.
Like,
When you
and
essentially someone as
it,
like a terrible person, it allows that to continue because it's just like, well, they were inherently bad. Nothing we can really do about it.
yeah, it's and for them, like, yeah, but also like J.K. Rowling isn't such an complicated, extreme example because she is openly a leader of a hate movement.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I did ages ago, before I had a channel, I did a video with the team over at CryptFacts about J.K. Rowling's manifesto, which I think it is a hate manifesto. I think it is the only accurate term to use when describing it. And
Yep.
I think describing it as anything else is disingenuous and a example of journalistic.
Well, it's just codifying and parroting back and
Mhm.
it was codifying, parroting back, and mainstreaming horrific views that were much more insular to TERF's movements beforehand, and sort of like I don't think she didn't say anything new. She just stated it in a way that made it mainstream,
palatable for certain types of people. No, and she has reach.
Mm-hmm.
And as Sarah said, they're also weren't born bigots. Like that's a learned thing, and that means they can unlearn it. And I'm not big on this idea that like we should spend all of our time and energy on like babysitting open fucking fascists. I don't think it's actually very productive because most fascists exit by being shown that they're terrible people. This is just a fucking fact. Please talk to people who are ex-fascists. I know someone, an indigenous trans friend of mine who was literally part of a fucking hate movement when he was younger and spent like 10 years getting de-radicalized and has a fucking complicated history with this stuff. Incredible guy, really wonderful person. But like, first thing he'll tell you is that he was a shit person at one point in his life. And these systems are complicated, and I think we do ourselves and them a disservice if we think that like being nice to someone's gonna stop them from hate. It's not the way to do it. The way to do it is to normalize and make marginalized groups so common that it is impossible for them to not just because contact hypothesis has been shown to be one of the most effective ways of de-escalating bigotry. And that's also why representation matters, because representation has been shown to the parasocial contact hypothesis. So it's also why I think that like the internet has kind of escalated anti-racist and anti-bigoted movements because there's so much contact. There's so much parasocial contact that of course you're gonna just hit a point where like people are just not as like it's hard to be bigoted when you see people in that group as human. Because once you see someone as human, you can't really undo that. It's really hard to combat that. And I think capitalism tries to tell us that like humans' natural state is hatred and anger, but I would say that humans' natural state is love and care.
We want to we like the fact that we will like empathize, like people will empathize with people in the room. Like why do you think like that like oh sorry one second, I just want to not type, but like humans are always inclined towards empathy. Like when someone, if you are in the room with someone, even if someone that you've been trained to hate, you will empathize with them. Like there's a wonderful documentary, I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but it was this journalist who sat down with a Nazi fascist and like did an interview, and I believe she was from a marginalized group, and I forget, again, it's been a hot minute since I've seen the movie, but basically like she just had a conversation and that person like empathized with her even though he's part of a white supremacist group. It's just people are inclined to see the humanity in people that are across them.
Yeah, when I think understanding is a good term. I dislike the moralization of empathy just because of how it relates to misunderstandings around certain mental health disorders, and also like as someone who has like hyper empathy, which is not a helpful thing. Like I can tell you definitively, the reason I was in abusive relationships is because of my hyper empathy. Like I have had that weaponized and used against me. So I don't.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. Like
you weren't saying that. I was more adding to the context of why I specifically wasn't saying like empathizing. It's understanding, and I think it's like, I don't think you need to feel the emotions of the other person to be able to
Yes. Yeah, you're correct.
learn and understand. Which I know that's what you were saying. This is
oh yeah. No, I know. You're totally good. We're on the same page. Totally cool.
Yeah. I just want to be clear to chat because I always feel like worried that people are thinking like critiquing. It's like, no, I'm a hyper paranoid person about language.
No, well, it's also helpful again on platforms like YouTube. You just want to make sure you're trying to be as clear, and that's always the problem with like live streams, where like that's why I script stuff out, because it's like I want to make sure I'm very, very clear and articulate about it.
I've been on live streams for so long talking about really complex topics that I've just developed this probably like hyper self-awareness and critique that's maybe not always the healthiest thing, but sometimes it's valuable to
yeah, to do that. Also, I just want to say, I just want to make sure I just address some of the chat real quick. But thank you, Mishaka. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. You were lovely. And then I just want to make sure if I missed anything in the chat real quick. But the chat is also, I feel like, is being supportive of what we're saying. So I just want to make sure. Thank you, chat. I appreciate all you.
Well, and there's a good point that someone brought up in chat, which is they don't want to learn is the thing. Yeah, and that's why we shouldn't waste our time trying to like babysit them, because that's not effective. Right? Someone has to want to come to learn. However, the way you get them to want to come to learn is by doing those first steps of empathy building, of understanding building, all of those things. And see, I just did the mistake myself that I was just talking about, because language is complicated and it's easy to make tiny little errors in how we
and that's safe space, obviously. Yeah. Oh,
exactly. I'm not perfect either. Like, I want people to critique me. I'm going to be fucking blatant. I have said things that I regret online, and I've been lucky enough to have friends who are more knowledgeable about those topics, whatever form of marginalization it was, or even just like knowledge things, who have been able to go, hey, what you said, not great.
Yeah.
Bad. Correct that.
I will say, like, I haven't 100% done that too. Like, I have made jokes. Like there is a video that like I took down and re-edited because like I made jokes that were not intentionally so, but like was a racist joke about me. Like, oh, I can't pronounce this person's name, and I'm like, oh, didn't even think about that. Like the joke was like I couldn't pronounce this person's name, ha ha ha, and it's like no, that fact that like people's names are like, because we've been in Western culture not taught to learn people of other cultures how to pronounce their names is offensive, and that's on me, and so like not a cool thing to joke about. I also like, so it's just like we're all learning, and we're all like making, like we're all figuring stuff out as we go, and that's not to like, if I cause someone harm with that joke, or like really like they felt really hurt or upset by that, I totally understand, and I don't wish to shy away from that fact. I take full responsibility for it, and I try my best to not do it again and to apologize for it, but I also take responsibility for it. So
yeah, exactly. It's like, and I think we're all in a process of learning. Like I think about conversations I've had with Foreign Man and Feek and various other people who have different experiences of marginalization and different backgrounds and things, and it's just, we're all in this process of learning, and that's what we should be trying to do. Is it's just I think the important thing is that like we have that aspect of understanding that, as someone put in chat, at our core, people will work together for mutual survival. Like that is how humans work. Capitalism is an ahistorical product. It ignores most of human history, in the same way that most understandings of gender are ahistorical.
Yep.
And like people should go watch Foreign's video on gender, because I think he
such a great job
of me talking about this topic specifically.
Which I was, yeah, but also that video, Foreign's video
is good. So.
Yeah, the Foreign's video is amazing. And not at all, like, in spite of the fact that both of us are, well, you were in it, you were fantastic in it, in spite of the fact that both of us are in it, but
I feel that too, but we were both saying good things, and I think I struggle to, like, acknowledge my own strengths, and so I've been trying to do better about it. I think a lifetime of being treated as someone who's, like, evilly egotistical, because I for context for the type of kid I was, when I was 6 years old, I had like a I had this piano test, and I got the best mark out of everybody there, and we're leaving, and I start crying, and my mom says, like, why are you crying? You did well. And I say, I didn't deserve this. I didn't do good enough. So like I do have an issue with like hypercriticality, and I'm trying to work on it.
I do the same thing. I do like to be honest with you, like I'm actually like very honestly relieved that you and like patrons like I'm not just saying this to promote like the fact that you like messaged me about like liking the Matrix video. I was very pleased with, because I've actually been like sitting with it the past few days and being like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever made, and I hate myself for making it. And I'm not even like saying that. I'm like, I have like sometimes like legitimately like, not about this one, but like legitimate like panic attacks about like I am terrible. Like the content I make is terrible, and I don't know why anyone listens to me and why anyone even subscribes to this channel. So and I say that very earnestly. I don't know why any of you listen to me. I love you all.
I totally understand what you mean. I feel the exact same way. You should probably heal before you go up the stairs with the ball.
Oh yeah, well that would have been smart. I also will say I am better at this game than I'm not great at this game. I am better, but I'm like talking to you also trying to pay attention to the chat.
Yeah, it adds, I will say this as someone who's done enough games on stream. It adds an extra layer of difficulty.
Yeah.
No, but I think the best, like most of the best people in the world, were all like running around with this extreme imposter syndrome, thinking no one else feels that way. Like I cannot tell you the number of other artists on this platform I have talked to who have this exact same feeling, and we all sit in a circle telling each other how great each other's work is, while then being like, but my stuff is shit.
It's crap compared to yours. Like I do the same thing.
It's one of those things where I can say this, I can logically know it, I can give it as advice to other people, applying it to myself.
No, I had the same. I'm gonna share this because I think. Oh my god, I cannot pay attention. Oh, thank God I landed there. That is the best feeling, when you don't die when you thought you were. Anyways, I'm going to share this just because he was okay with sharing it with other people. And also I think people should follow him. And I don't think enough people know about him. But there is a creator there's many wonderful creators over at GameSpot, but there's a creator at GameSpot named Kurt in Dovina, who's actually in the Matrix video. He contributed a voice to it. He is a fantastic creator who does some of the most creative and like outside the box work over at GameSpot. Like I watched his, like half the reason I wanted to do stuff at GameSpot because I watched this stuff. I'm like, Kurt, it makes such great videos and so amazing videos. And then when I started work at GameSpot, he's been so kind and so wonderful and so thoughtful in helping me being so supportive. And I like. And again, he shared this with other people, so it's fun. But it's like, he was like, oh, my videos are terrible, and I don't understand. I'm like, dude, I adore your videos. They are absolutely fantastic and wonderful and so thoughtful and so like visually creative. And he just did not feel it. And then he said, but your videos are amazing, and I've watched every one of yours, and it's like you're like a best. I'm like, but what? And he just like named a video that I think is objectively terrible. I forget what it was, but he's like, I'm like, I think this was your greatest video of yours that I've seen. And I'm like, what? That's one that I despise because I think I did a crap job on it. And we just like had this weird moment of just like, wow, we both think each other is great and think ourselves are horrible. I share that video too because all of you should go follow Kurt in Dovina because he is a fantastic creator at GameSpot and an even more fantastic human being. Anyways,
I really need to put like Kurt in my watch later.
he has his own YouTube channel, but he hasn't really updated since he's done GameSpot. But you should like go find. I will share out some later some of Kurt's videos on GameSpot because he is fantastic.
But I think there's like. I think there's just this aspect of like we're all our worst critics, and I also think that like capitalism teaches us to be hypercritical of ourselves, and I think those two layer onto each other. And I think when you're a marginalized person, and this comes back to what I was talking about with the stuff way earlier about like hypercriticality towards marginalized people, why we shouldn't call it cancel culture, is that like we're constantly being told we're worthless. No fucking wonder we internalize it to some degree. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like, and I think we just, I think there's something like beautiful and incredible when we radically, love ourselves.
And the thing too with the thing too that we also talk about is like we're told that we're crap, but then we're also told that we're egotistical, especially like certain specific marginalized groups. All marginalized groups. Like one of the things that's weaponized is like you're so full of yourself and you're so egotistical. Stop talking about yourself. Like whenever I like talk about trans issues, like you're making everything about trans people. I'm like, no, I'm doing this. I'm talking about trans issues because I feel like I'm compelled to. Because otherwise, I feel like I'm not helping this thing. It's like you're forcing me to talk about this, but then you're telling me that I'm like pulling myself for that. So you're with marginalized groups, you're constantly placed into this constant headspace of like, I shouldn't talk about myself because I'm crap. Also, when I do talk about myself, I'm an egotistical monster. And so it's like you're constantly placed in that like consciousness of like everything you do, you are told that you are terrible for some reason.
Well, I think it's, again, as I was saying, it's about that post hoc rationalization, right? They've come to a conclusion. They have to rationalize the conclusion, right? And I think understanding a lot of conservatism is understanding how they build logical arguments, and they build them in reverse. Their conclusion is their premise, and they have to build back to build a premise that makes sense to it. And it's why a lot of it is extremely contradictory, because it is inherently coming from a perspective and mentality that looks at, there's an enemy behind you, I think.
I just realized I was like I got to this point, I'm like, oh wait, I've been here before, and there was a guy right behind me. I just realized it as I got here. Please don't die, I'm so close. You
got this.
No, stupid Snake Man. No! Sorry, one second. I apologize, Aranock, because I'm going to be yelling at the Snake Man for a hot second. Yes! Die! Okay, anyways, you were saying. Also, William Stewart, thank you so much. Thank you. William Stewart, you are lovely. I appreciate you.
Yeah, and...
Yeah. Oh, and I will say, I will try to change that language. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Oh,
don't worry about it. You're all... Anyways, you were saying.
Yeah, and so I think, like, if you look at like feminist discussions of the way that women are treated, like almost everything is if you're pretty, right, you're trying to like manipulate men. If you're ugly, you're trying to manipulate men in a different way. I want to be clear, I'm not like agreeing with their assessments. I'm talking about the way that they view us. Because like Western views on what beauty is a social construct that we've invented, that's extremely built in racist, transphobic, and ableist and fatphobic methods. And I think a lot of people would be much better off if they stopped trying to conform to a societal justification of what beauty standards should be. Yeah. Yes, I am trans. I'm extremely trans.
I was just saying. I was just also like, I finally made it to the next area, so I'm like kind of just like screaming inside with happiness and like also terror. With like, please don't die. Please be a bonfire nearby.
Okay. Anyway, this zone has like there's like spots where like explosives get thrown. And
good. That's what I needed. You can see
the black like
hi
is where they get thrown to. Go to your and you have to like drop down to the fire.
Where is it? Oh, is it down there? Where that is?
Sorry, one sec.
No worries.
One sec. Yes, down that little breach right there.
Okay.
It'll put you like right where the like near those hallways we were just by, but you gotta wait until the fire gets out of the way, and you gotta run fast.
Yeah, I know. I just realized that, so I'm gonna wait.
Like, very tight timing. So I think
no. I was on top of the bonfire.
Oh no!
I was standing on top of it. I'm sorry.
But here's the thing. You've done it.
Yeah, I know.
That's the takeaway. I've been speedrunning Ghost Runner the last like 2 weeks.
Yes, that's another game that just like learn through doing over and over.
I really love it. I'm pretty good too. For like only having speed run it 3 times. My current time's an hour and 41
Oh dang,
minutes.
that's really good.
Minutes?
I can't.
No,
That takes me
9 minutes. But my combined best times, I think, is like an hour 41.
It's an hour 41 for me to beat the first level. So congrats to you.
Oh, that game is. Oh, it's like it just. I'm very neurodivergent, and so focus is an issue, and that game is just like instant hyper focus activation. It's great. I feel so good when I'm playing it for that hour and a bit. I'm just in a zone and I feel good. I'm in flow state. It's great. It's perfect.
I love those games. That's the game that I do that in is Sonic Adventure 2. Sonic Adventure 2 is that game for me where it's just like I get into a flow state with that game.
I feel really sad because I've tried to like Sonic games. I cannot stand their design.
Okay, I will defend. You are correct in every game.
I want to be very, very, very clear. You don't
want to get canceled. You don't want to get canceled by. No, I'm making a joke. You're gonna get canceled by the Sonic crowd.
I just personally, for my personal taste, I really don't like it or its design ethos. I think it's constantly contradictory, and I can dig into like really complicated reasons why I think the entire. You know what? I'll make an exception. Sonic Mania is a decently designed game, but I think
the one game made by people who love Sonic, not the people who love Sonic didn't work on the other games, so that was made by like fans, and then they were like, make it into a full game for us.
Because the fans actually understand like the aspects of the game that work. I think that Sonic designers don't understand Sonic 90% of the time, when it's a really weird series because of it. Because like, it's an odd one to engage with.
Yes, I will say though, the closest they got is Sonic Adventure 2. Maybe it just speaks my brain, but Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure is a buggy, weird mess, but I love it. Sonic Adventure 2, I will legit say, 90% of that game stands the test of time and actually works well, in my opinion. It is the only one. And then Sonic Generations is also solid, but that's about it. And then after that, everything else is meh.
I tried with Sonic Adventure 2. I found it,
To be fair, I am probably colored by all the nostalgia.
I want to be clear. Most games from that era do not age well. It's a complicated situation when we talk about game design things, and like I love game design.
I have to run real quick because my tacos are here, and so I need to go pick them up. Which actually, Jedi Andy Jones, thank you for reminding me. You literally said that at the exact moment that the tacos arrived, and I looked at it. So I'm gonna hide in this corner, and I'll be right back. Aranock, you have the stream. You use your power well.
Okay.
So I'll just be 2 seconds.
My power well. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Aranock, for leaving you. I'll be just 2 seconds.
Well, so it depends what you mean by easy. And here's my problem. If you've been playing games for 20 years,
it would help if I had the keys to get back into my apartment.
because difficulty isn't an objective measure. Difficulty is the emotional experience of the player in response to barriers. And video games as a genre, as a medium, are some of the most intertextual pieces, whether you realize it or not, in how they design things. It's very rare that anyone like wholesale tries something really out there, with design. And so when we talk about difficulty, I think often people treat it like this metric that you can understand perfectly. And this is why I prefer terms like assist modes instead of difficulty modes. I think it's a more accurate term to the descriptions, and I think it's easier to separate the options out. I think Celeste is a perfect example, and if you want my long-term thoughts about what difficulty settings mean in relative to disability, I have a video on that. I really, really enjoy it. There's some questions for me that I'm going to answer. Okay. I'm not the biggest fan of sand, but I do like some sandy beaches. My cousins are Jamaican. I was there for their wedding, for my one cousin's wedding, and like there's just some gorgeous beaches in Jamaica. I do remember Channel Awesome. I'm not sure I want to. I have significant problems with the ethos of a lot of reviewers and critics like Channel Awesome, because I think they engage with art in a lazy fashion.
Oh, we're talking about Channel Awesome.
Yeah, someone asked about it, and I'm just saying that, like, I think Everything Wrong With and Channel Awesome and a few others ruined an entire generation's understanding of media. I think it killed a lot of media literacy. That's not me like attacking the creators. I don't think they're like evil people for expressing their opinions. I just think that, like, it's unfortunate that perspective, this like unemotional, gotta find the plot holes.
It's very shallow analysis that like is also very like it's very rigidly like statistical and factual. Again, like find the plot holes, like find this sort of thing. It's like, but it's not recognizing what the art is like going for and how those things are either unimportant or like or part of the intention of it. You know.
I have a line from the Matrix video. It's just one sentence, but I think it sums this up super, super, super well. And it's this. This scene discusses how the Matrix has turned human beings into batteries, controlled livestock. Now, on a purely scientific level, this makes little sense, because that's not the point. On a thematic, metaphoric level, it is making humans literally commodified and discussing how people are what powers and maintains the existence of our current social constructs.
Yep.
And it's an excellent choice. Cis men are bad at understanding film.
Yeah, I agree. Well, like, it's the thing.
I want to be clear. That's a cheeky line. I don't actually mean all cis men. I'm making fun of the like hundreds of times I've seen cis men say those exact things about the battery stuff, and I'm like, please, the Matrix isn't literal.
Yeah, no, because that's what people always think about. And like the other thing too, and I mean it's what I talk about in my video too. It's like, sorry, you're laughing about. I'm like, let me talk. And
you're good.
I'm so sorry.
I actually added a line in there because of Jessie's video, because you said the bit about powering social constructs. I was like, oh fuck, why didn't I think of that? Again, my script is the result of either indirect or direct conversation with a large number of trans people's readings of the film.
That is how I discover most of my own like analyses. Like I have a mild idea, and then I'll like go and talk to people about it, and they're like, yeah, I was like, oh yeah, I actually had a thought that was okay, and then I develop it from there. But what was I saying? But no, that I mean that's also what I'm talking about too. Is like the problem that I feel like. I mean, I talk about this in the video with The Matrix, is that like people have been taught to have that shallow reading of a film, to turn their brain off, to take the blue pill, as it were, because the whole thing is that like they don't, like, the system doesn't want you to critically engage with it. It just wants you to like just see the surface level shallow readings of something. So when we look at The Matrix, we just see like, oh, it's a film about batteries and people being batteries and like evil, like alien, not evil, like evil machines, and it's like that's so surface level. There's so much more going on with this work, but the point is like the point that I make with the video is that like the additional thing that I think Resurrections begins to talk about is not just, oh, this movie's surface level interpretation was what just happened. It's that the fact that people only saw the surface level interpretation was why it got co-opted by the right wing, and right wing groups actively take advantage of this surface level reading. Like you look at anti-SJW channels. And their whole thing is that they are upset because they only can read only read the surface level of things, and because of that they get angry at surface level issues of like, this movie was bad. Well, this movie had a marginalized person in it, so that's the reason that it's bad, because that's the difference between the old Star Trek and the new Star Trek, the old Matrix and the new Matrix, because there was marginalized people in it, and so that's the reason it's bad. And then right-wing groups will take advantage of that. It's like, yes, that's the reason that it's bad. You should hate those people, instead of understanding that the reason that the work is quote-unquote bad for some films. I'm not talking about Resurrections, but if like a movie's bad, is because like it's not actually speaking to issues that people are feeling.
I'm gonna touch on like one last little thing, and then I'm gonna go watch the second Irish folklore animation movie with Lady Night, because I promised I'd do that tonight.
Yeah, no worries.
But what I think we're talking about, and I'm gonna critique it, and this is gonna be interesting. I'm gonna talk about it from leftist people doing the same thing. It's fun. This is inspired by a conversation between Ben from Canada and I about a script. I won't tease any of Ben from Canada's script, but everybody should be watching Ben from Canada. If you don't know him, he's CJ the X's brother. He also does incredible video essays. He edits for the Daily Planet and for CJ the X and a few other like really prominent YouTubers. But Ben's videos on their own are just fucking great, and I love them. And we give feedback on each other's stuff. So like we inform each other's works anyway. But because of this conversation, there's some stuff I'd said about Dear Evan Hansen where Ben was like, you need to go make this into an essay. I'm going to read a teeny tiny bit of it, but I have noticed that a lot of people were made really, really uncomfortable by Dear Evan Hansen. And I want to be clear, I don't fucking like Dear Evan Hansen. I will shit on this film. But I think a lot of people kind of shit on it like a surface level where they go like, oh, it didn't execute its intentions. And I'm like, okay, great. What else? What does it say that it made you uncomfortable? What is it saying? What do you get from it? And so I wrote this for context, 40 hours without sleep, so it's a little weird and poetic and odd, but I was in a headspace. But in Norse myth, the world snake Jormungandr, infinite and insurmountably gargantuan, endlessly consumes itself, sustaining itself through its own self-destruction. Have you ever moved into a new place? Let's say, for an example, a university residence, and you get in the shower. As you start to wash, water comes back from the drain, and you turn the water off, apprehensively reaching into the dark absence, and begin to pull up pounds of sludge-encrusted hair that the previous occupants never cleared out. Like a horrifying dead thing, matted and disgusting, its very texture makes your skin want to slough off your body. You embarrassingly take the refuse to the garbage, still covered in the soap you didn't get the chance to clean off. This thing no one should have created. Sometimes a piece of art that doesn't understand its inherently disgusting nature to me feels like someone approached you with a silver platter and dish cover, pulled itself back, and inside is that slimy, gritty substance that makes your skin crawl. And its creator looks at you and smiles, as if to say, look what I've retched up. Dear Evan Hansen is a 2021 existential horror thriller about a nihilistic view on activism, whose creators believed was an optimistic piece of activism.
Beautiful.
In it, Evan Hansen, a self-hating white cis man who is wrapped in his own privileged identity, uses the suicide of a classmate, Connor, to try and gain access to the privilege and people that he feels entitled to. I'm going to skip away because I've just got like outline bits there. But I do have some sentences like the film is to representation of suicidality what Love, Simon is to queer representation. Gentrified, meaningless, and made for people who have never had those experiences. Dear Evan Hansen tells suicidal people that even their memory will be disrespected and misused. And Dear Evan Hansen's justifications for existence are in and of themselves consumed by its own messages. Dear Evan Hansen doesn't think it should exist. Isn't that a fascinating work of art to discuss? Isn't its self-contradictory nature, a metatextual critique of its own reason for existence inside of a story about self-destruction, far more interesting to examine than how it failed at executing its supposed intended meaning? What does death of the author and auteur theory mean to a piece of art that's creator's intent kills itself? Maybe we should stop asking, is this piece of art good? And start asking, what does it say? What do we get from this? How does it make me feel? And what it has to say is graphically horrid.
Yeah, well, that's like that. Number one, excellent piece of writing. Number two, this is sorry. You still more. Sorry.
I got like 3 more paragraphs. So I'll quickly wrap it up because they wrap it back around. But there's sorry. It says there's no meaning to activism. There was no real purpose to what Evan did. Evan ends the film more disconnected and lonely than when it began. Evan wasn't found. Or if he was, then he was found to be a deeply harmful shit person. Yet at the same time, the performance around the art, the advertising campaigns and statements by its creators, and its behind-the-scenes vignettes say it's about how you will be found, that it's about hope. Its stated meaning and the meaning that can be found in its texts are circularly consuming each other over and over. What can we get from it? I think a look into the perspective of deeply privileged, out-of-touch rich people and what they think is helpful. It's ultimately that look that is terrifying. They view charity as an act done for performance first and foremost. It betrays a deep inability to view the world or understand the world from other people's perspective. What this film thinks is a poor person's house looks like a very nice house. It exists in the fantasy land of what rich people think is real. They believe that if you just say a few nice things and convince people they won't be forgotten, that it will drastically aid people. And yet, at the same time, their cynicism towards human connection and genuine care about others, their projection of their own performativity, seeps through like an acid, eating away at any hope that could possibly be scrounged from such an aggressively miserable film. It uses serious topics as flippantly as a child's cartoon discusses giraffes. Everyone's feelings and experiences for nearly the entire film revolve around Evan and his emotional needs. Evan wants to be praised, or rather, the creators of this film want to be praised. They were so wrapped in their privileged self-image that they expected accolades for this work, and everyone to pat them on the back for doing such a good job of stooping down to us lesser beings and blessing us with a benevolent aid. They're performing activism for attention in an identical way to the protagonist's performative activism that was critiqued by their film. How does it make me feel? The same type of deep skin turning discomfort of pulling up the sludge-slicked knot of hair coated in a layer of misery, because it looks at humanity and says that we should find hope in self-destructive nothingness, because it does not, in this film's mind, come from kindness towards others. It makes me feel that a group of deeply privileged people... sorry, that sentence isn't finished. And I'm not the only person to feel a visceral disgust at this work of art. Because it's sustained through its own self-destruction, self-consuming endlessly, infinite and insurmountably gargantuan, a world snake Jormungandr of Norse myth.
Dear gosh, go off.
I really don't like Dear Evan Hansen, and
but it's fascinating.
Talking about it, but I think it's a fascinating piece of art. I think it has something valuable to say in its disgusting nature, and I think that's way more interesting than just Dear Evan Hansen bad. Like,
well, no, it's why I've watched so many, like Sarah Z did. Sarah Zed.
I want to be very clear. I love Sarah Zed's video. I love Jenny Nicholson's video. They're super entertaining. I'm not shitting on them. I'm just saying that there's more to their feelings than just.
No, I was actually gonna praise them. I was gonna praise Sarah's video. Like Jenny, I think does a good job too. But hers is more perfunctory. But I think also because like she released it so quickly, and also because like her intent. I'm not knocking Jenny because she does great work. Her intent is more to like get you to that primer place of like just joking about it, pointing out the weird discordance that you're feeling with it. I think she does a great job. Sarah, I think, did a great job breaking down like this exact sort of feeling, but giving some historical context. But I also agree with you. Like, I think there's a difference between that and like recognizing why we talk about bad works. Because for me, sorry.
I think it's important to note that like the movie made you feel something. Sure, it was never the intended feeling. A deep existential horror is not the intended feeling of this film.
There's a difference between like intention and like what like this is why I do like Death of the Author. I mean, it's like I love looking what the author's intention. I don't like Death of the Author necessarily because I love looking what the author's intention was and versus what the actual effect of it was. And sorry, I just want to make sure I get this out. So like. To connect with you about Dear Evan Hansen. Dear Evan Hansen is not one that I've watched a lot of analyses of it. I haven't actually watched the movie. I've actually just watched more analyses of it. But the Dear Evan Hansen for me, the movie that is my Dear Evan Hansen, the movie that I am like, this is not a good movie, but I am deeply fascinated by it on such a intrinsic level, is Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I have that movie. I talk about that movie. For 4 years after that movie released, I spoke with friends almost weekly about it because it's so fascinating in what that movie was.
Zack Snyder is the most fascinating filmmaker ever, and I will give him one compliment. I think he could be the greatest second unit director of all time. I think he's an abysmal primary director because what's fascinating about Zack Snyder is I genuinely don't think he understands the political messages of his own
No,
films.
no, he doesn't. That's
And
what's
it's
lovely.
so weird.
But that's what's that's what's so
He
lovely in a
thinks it's
terrible way.
cool thing.
It's just like he has certain he has certain fascinations. He has certain fascinations that lead to weird readings of the film that are clearly not his intention, but you see his id, and you see his like his you see his internal sense of like feeling going on into the films. Then you like watch what the film is, and you're like, but there's so much here, though. Like, I watch 300. 300 is the gayest film of all time. And you, like, watch it, and, like, there's clearly no... Like, I think this is it. He is the surface level reading. He is like the channel Awesome doing a surface level reading of his own work without realizing that his work actually has deeper implications that even he is missing as he makes it.
So, like I think Watchmen as an adaptation is fundamentally hilarious. Like I don't think it's a good adaptation. I think it's a good like visual translation of moments. There are moments that are adapted correctly, but Zack Snyder read Watchmen and all he got from it was Rorschach cool, which is the exact opposite
of the point. And he does the same thing with Batman. He's just like, but Batman with guns would be cool, right? And I'm like no.
Zack Snyder's if you gave a 13-year-old $69 million to make a film with no strings attached.
I know, and I love it. I love it. His whole thing.
I like love hate watching his films. It's just mean to say, but like there is no other film that is quite like watching a Zack Snyder film with a group of other queer disabled people and being like, what the fuck is going on?
No, I agree completely. Like, I watch Batman v Superman and I'm just utterly fascinated by how absolutely wrong it is, because it's just, okay, sorry, I'm gonna rant about this movie, Batman v Superman, for a minute. It's just like, it's a movie that like comes so close to like actually understand, like, there is actually a really good conflict between Batman v Superman that is set up by the film's attempt initially to deconstruct what Man of Steel was. Like, Man of Steel was like, oh, we're gonna blow everything up because Superman's just gonna knock everything out. Isn't that cool? And then he got so much pushback by that from people being like, you destroyed Metropolis. This is not, like, everyone's dead around you. And so his second film is like, oh, I'll attempt to deconstruct that by having Batman be kind of against that. But then Batman just gets layered in this like, but also Batman's gonna kill people too. And I'm like, but then there's no ideological difference between the two. It's just layers of scale. And like, and it's like, I guess they're the same. They have the same outlook on life. They just, Superman can murder more people, but Batman's just cooler because he can do it like with the guns and shit. And I'm like, but the whole point was they should ideologically be opposed, but the movie just does, it's like, but they're gonna be the same person, but just hate the world, but they're gonna be mad at each other because the thing calls for it, because action figure smashing are cool. And then Wonder Woman's gonna show up in here and is like, men, and that's all that she does in the movie. But it's also like, but women, but I'm also not sexist, so she's tough too, but like a boy is tough. And it's just like
because of that. So here's my reading of Batman versus Superman. Batman versus Superman is a conflict between three men trying to be the alpha male. I want to be clear, I disagree with the entire concept of alpha male stuff. I think it's bullshit. But I just think like, reading the film from this perspective is really funny because it totally is what the film's about. So, but like, the reason Batman and Superman win is because they're like the true alphas, and they team up to make the super alpha because the Sigma male, Wonder Woman, comes in and
they just they form together to form.
and because the reason that like Lex Luthor sucks is that it by the film's logic is just that he's a beta.
Yeah. It's
Again, I disagree with that worldview, but I'm talking about the film's worldview, to be clear.
No,
and
it's
save Martha.
save Martha. I'm just like, I have so much frustration because it's like everyone. Okay, here's my rant. This is not analyzing Zack Snyder. This is Jessie wishing she could have made Batman v Superman. That movie should. Everyone's like, Man of Steel it sucks because Superman snapped the guy's neck, and I'm like, no, that was the only interesting choice from that movie. is that Superman snapped that guy's neck. It misunderstands Superman. So this is me ranting. It misunderstands Superman and what Superman's supposed to be. But it's a choice that I'm like, this is actually interesting for Superman, especially if your next movie puts him into conflict with Batman, because the ideological difference between these two should have been that. It should have been, this is my argument here, like, there should have been there's no ideological difference between Batman and Superman as is. That's why it has to come down to save Martha. It has to come down to that stupid thing. But
Zack Snyder writes all of his heroes identically.
Yeah.
Zack Snyder hero is just the character. Like, that's the entire character is just Zack Snyder hero.
But like my pitch for like what that movie should have been would have been Batman is a dark, depressing superhero who is stuck in his own nihilism and his own nihilistic view of the world. But he does have one belief that is like, I don't murder people. I actually try my best to save them and rehabilitate them as best I can, even if that is a view that just gets consistently proven wrong over and over again and again. I will not kill the Joker because I believe that like he can go into Arkham and we can like rescue him or whatever. Like there's a system to do this sort of thing, and it's not by just intrinsically murdering people. And that is like a weird, like almost strange view considering like his outlook on the world. But then you take that and contrast that with Superman, who is supposed to be this optimistic view of the world. Like he is supposed to be this hero who people look up to, and the movie like tries to get at that in a terrible way, but like he's supposed to be like this symbol of optimism and hope, but he killed somebody because he thought it was the pragmatic choice in that situation. And I'm like, that's such a great ideological thing to hinge this battle, like the battle between them two being like they have different opposing like tones on the world and outlooks on the world, and yet the way they enact that belief is also contradictory, and it would lead them to better each other. Like they fight because of that ideological difference, but then when they become friends at the end because they realize they can actually improve each other by coming together. That's what that movie should have been about. And then it's just like, nah, but Batman also murders people too, so it's cool.
Yeah, no, and it's like it's one of those things where Batman versus Superman is a film. Again, this is another instance where like Zack Snyder only has surface level readings of things. Zack Snyder read The Dark Knight Returns, which is a fascist book written by a fascist. It's just blatant, obvious stuff. This is not a deep this is on the surface level, but he just like is completely politically illiterate when it comes to films, and I don't mean that in a mean way, and I wish I had a better term than politically illiterate, but that's the term that I have, so we're just gonna have to deal with it. If someone has a better term, I would love to hear it because I don't like that term. But anyway, like I want to be clear, I don't like hate Zack Snyder as a person. Like he's constantly shit on his racist fans. Like, he's talked about sexism from his fans. Like I think he's really trying. I just like I have problems with his art.
Yeah. Again, separating the art from artists and like being like, I have disagreements with him politically on how his art could be read, and like dislike his art, but it's like I don't think he's a shit person. In fact, actually from everything I've seen, he actually seems like a very nice person. So
yeah, I've only seen him be like kind and polite, and you know, and he's clearly very bothered about like anti-Asian racism as it affects his daughters, and you know, like he's talked about like. But I think that he's like completely politically, you know, unaware and ignorant. Yeah, I think ignorant's a good term. That's a better.
Yeah, I think that is it is the better term. Term. He's the guy who read The Fountainhead and thought it was cool and didn't really, but like on a surface level, like.
The fascist author I was talking about was which Miller is that? There's like 10 Millers.
Oh, Frank. It's Frank Miller. Sorry, Frank Miller.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm really bad at names. And there's multiple Millers with problematic political views, so it makes it a little hard to remember. But it's like this thing where, like, we can and again, it's the same thing with like talking about the Wachowski's racism and talking about all these things that we've talked about through this entire film, entire stream, is that multiple things can be true at the same time.
Yep.
And that's like maybe how we need to engage with things. Like we can talk about the ways that a work of art was harmful without treating it like the creators of the work are, you know, evil. Like I I just hate essentializing. Go watch my Midnight Mass video. I break down this
fantastic
concept
video
in a really in-depth way that's way more elegant than
my personal favorite of all your videos is your Midnight Mass one. That's it's really good.
It's my best work. It's my best work. I want people to view that as their favorite video of mine, because it's such a, that video was a complicated work to work on.
I can definitely tell you were very open and vulnerable throughout it, and I appreciate that. So I don't think I've ever thanked you for it. Like, legitimately, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for making that video.
It was tough. Like, I'm not gonna lie. It took a lot of work, because part of it was having to watch this show multiple times, and like I love Midnight Mass, but Midnight Mass is not an emotionally enjoyable time for me.
Fair. And we don't have to get into it if it's not
No, it's okay. I want to talk about it. Like, I'm very comfortable talking about it.
Cool. I just want to make sure.
I'm just talking about like my experience of making it.
Fair. I just want to make sure you had you didn't feel forced. So as long as I just want to make this with it.
I like talking about my art. All artists to some degree we're a little bit indulgent in some way. Like I said, I'm hypercritical of my own art and I have issues with that, but I do love talking about it. I love talking about my art and art in general, and that's my entire channel ethos. So it's one of those things where I just I wanted to say everything I said in that video well before I made that video. For context, before the show had even come out, like, all the stuff that I wanted to talk about with Christianity was all a pre-existing script. There are chunks of that, like, way old version of the script that are still in the final version. I think section 3 existed in a very different format. Some of the same stories, but like different formatting and purposing. But I realized this thing a while back, which is that, like, I would much rather couch my conversation in a work of art than just make an educational piece in it. And I know a lot of people really, really liked my first 2 videos, and I get why. But to me, it's a lot more enjoyable and pleasant to work on.
That's why I do the same. That's why I do the same thing with
Yeah. So, like, again, like, I'm going to use Matrix Resurrections to talk about a bunch of parasociality concepts that I want to discuss. But, like, amongst other things, it's why Dear Evan Hansen is kind of a conversation I want to have about, like, we should take our conversation about, harmful art and complicated art in a more in-depth direction than just, like, it's technically failed. Because I think when we say a film is good or bad, we're often, like, saying 3 different things. Sometimes a combination of all 3, sometimes only one of them. Personal enjoyment, technical execution, and messaging. To bring up someone we were talking about earlier, I think Zack Snyder's messaging is terrible. I think Zack Snyder's technical execution is often quite good. Those can be true at the same time. I don't personally enjoy most of Zack Snyder's work. I find them slogs to watch through that are overly long and don't know what they're doing.
I get tired. But, it's like
I'm tired.
There are a few films that I just get tired while watching. Zack Snyder movies and the Transformers movies. Like, I watch them and I just, like, every time I watch the Transformers movies, I'm just tired by the end of them.
Michael Bay is just wanking off on screen.
Oh yeah.
That is how I describe his film.
Oh yeah. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to distract you from your Midnight Mass, but I was just making tired.
But like,
but this is also why in my reviews, like, I've actually been asked by people, like, sorry, this is just why people, like, ask me, they say, like, well, why don't you do, like, oh, I give this movie, like, 5 out of 10 or whatever. It's like, I'm not going to reduce a discussion of a film to a number score. So.
One, like, what do you mean by 5 out of 10?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like, what does that say about the film? Like, and I think it's complicated because I think there's 2 types of critique. There is something saying, a piece that's about, like, are you going to feel like your money was worth spending going to the theater.
Yeah.
Which, fine. That's cool to do. Go ahead. I don't find that interesting because I like yeah, it's just not an interesting way of engaging with art for me.
The only numbered system that I found ever useful, and it was one of the first ones I ever encountered in my life, was, and I kid you not, is the X-Play review system from way back on the original G4, not the G4 today, which I've watched a little bit of, but I haven't watched it in a bit. But like the X-Play had a 5-star review for the video games that they reviewed, and I thought it was absolutely perfect. It was 1 star, do not recommend this game at all. Or it's probably better to start like 5 stars. Like they think it's something that everyone should play if you are interested in gaming. Like this is something that you should talk about. 4 stars is this has a few like flaws here and there for whatever reason, but it's definitely still a recommend. 3 is a best for fans of like this series or this genre. If like you're someone who's like, this is something that intrigues you, like it would definitely be good and you would enjoy it. For other people, maybe it would be a little bit harder to get into. 2 for the 2 points has like there are a couple of interesting things here, but overall not worth really recommending. And then 1 is just like probably best not. And even they even said like 1s when they explained their review scales, like 1s can even have some redeeming things. We're not calling it like crap. It's just sort of like an evaluation of like worth your time and purchase, you know.
Well, and again, I think it's this unfortunate like result of having to talk about art under capitalism. Mm-hmm. You know, mm-hmm. Like. The problem isn't the art. The problem is capitalism.
Mm-hmm. The problem is that like it's to engage with art is meaning to you have to like spending money is inherently violence against yourself, and so like it is like it's like hurting yourself, and so it's like, gosh darn this stupid ball. It's like every time you have to engage with art, it's like you have to actively like hurt yourself. You know, even if it's just like $10 to go to the theater, it's still part of that, you know. Or like for gaming especially, where it's like $70 for a game on top of a like $500 system, you know.
I really like what Jacob Geller had to say on this topic, and I think it's in his video called Writing on Games, mm-hmm. Or something similar. I can't remember the exact wording, but he says, I think a far more valuable scale to ask isn't how many hours of play did you get for your money, mm-hmm. but how many hours does the art stick with you in your head mm-hmm. after you finish it? And I thought that was perfect. How often do you think about that piece of art? How much does it emotionally affect you? I
agree.
I think Rundown is the best video game of 2021 by a wide margin, personally. I think it is such a powerful, personal, and culturally significant piece of art that is subtle in the ways that it is revolutionary. And it is 3.5 hours long. I have played it 3 times. I think about it on a weekly basis.
Yeah, like I have the same thing with like so many games. Like for like actually, honest to God, I mean this game is gonna stick with me for a while. But this is a very intricate. But it's like a long game. But I have like even just this. This is aside from a point I was just about to make. But I have not physically progressed any further than when we started. I've enjoyed every second. But regardless, some of the games that have meant the most to me are the games that were the shortest games, and like in terms of time. And I actually spoke about this with like at GameSpot with people. It's like the reason I love Assassin's Creed games used to be my favorite games of all time. Not my favorite games. I loved the Assassin's Creed games quite a bit. But I cannot play the new games, not because there's inherently bad. There's a lot of good in everything past Origins, but my issue with the newest games is they inherently do not respect my time, and in fact they actively waste my time intentionally in order to sell you more stuff. It makes you waste your time in order to like force you to spend more money, and I cannot stand that. Any game, like it's why I dislike grindy games, where it's like games that like inherently like waste your time because they wish to either elongate the experience artificially or they wish to make you spend more money like grinding for loot boxes or stuff like that. And it's like, if you do that in your game, I will not, like, I just can't. Even if your game is on every technical level great, I just cannot because I cannot respect something that does not respect my time because I have only so much time on this earth and I don't wish to waste it, even if it's something like that, you know?
I 100% agree. There is exactly one game that I like that you could argue is like a grindy game,
Mm-hmm.
but I think is like it's
Well,
only
even
grindy if you feel like doing some specific things. But
and
I love Destiny 2.
grind can be part of the experience. I'm just saying more when it's like trying
Mm.
to do it artificially and when it's trying to sell you things. Anyway, sorry.
Oh yeah, no, but I was great. So Destiny 2 is one of my favorite games, but
Mm-hmm.
like the reason I love Destiny 2 is because of my community. I play Destiny 2 with my clan, with the Psy. Um, Sometimes I will stream a raid randomly. It's never like a planned out thing, but and I play with my dad. My dad's part of the clan. It's very funny. They all really adore my dad. So it is a wild, like I don't know. I have a weird relationship with my dad as a trans person, and I'm very thankful for it. Um, I there was a time where I felt like kind of bad talking about it because I worried that it uh people might feel bad just because they maybe don't have the same type of relationship with their
Mm-hmm.
parents. But then I also was like, I think people need to know that things can be good.
Yeah.
you know, that you can, and it's not perfect. I mean, I have to correct them sometimes, and I've had to
Yeah.
explain things, and like it's been a process. But when we talk about that stuff we talked about earlier about like why learning is important and integral to everything, that's a core aspect for me. Is my relationship with my dad is yeah, learning. And but yeah, I play a lot of Destiny 2 with my clan and my dad. And there is grindy aspects of Destiny 2, absolutely. But like part of it's also grindy by design because it's a social hub
Yeah.
to a degree. Like it's just something you guys you hop on and you do your weekly stuff, and that's to like let you do other cool fun stuff by like getting up to level, and those other fun hard things are like higher difficulty game stuff. And so like it's a great game that like you can enjoy it at a really casual level or at a really serious level, but it never feels like it's like I there are times where I just go, I don't feel like doing this grind, and Destiny 2 is not going to fucking punish me for that.
Yeah.
Um, it's like there if I want it, and it's not, and if I don't want it, I just don't do it. I mean, like, I will say that there's a little bit of work that goes into it when you're part of like a legit raiding clan, and you spend that time on the game, getting to the point where you can raid and everything. Like when Witch Queen comes out, I'll probably disappear for about 2 weeks. And I'll probably just be doing
I've heard nothing but good things.
and
I was talking with some people at GameSpot, and they were like passionately talking about how excited they are for Witch King. And I'm like,
Witch Queen.
I wish I was in the Destiny community to get into that.
And I want to shout out like Bungie's had issues. They've had problems. I highly recommend IGN's excellent piece of
great
investigative
article.
journalism. It's really good. I do think that Bungie's one of the few instances, based on things that I've heard from people inside the company and formerly part of the company, that they are actively trying to change things.
Well,
Maybe
even
not as
they
fast
even responded.
and their response is really good.
That's
like
what I
their
was
response
saying.
was good and public, and they owned their shit, which
Yeah.
is the important bit. I want to be clear, that doesn't make a corporation good. I'm not fucking standing a corporation. I think the entire system of capitalism should be gotten rid of.
Oh yeah,
but I do
but
want
the people within that corporation are trying to do their best
decent.
within an inherently horrible system. Yeah,
Exactly, and there's some really great people. But because of my video on queerness in Destiny 2, which Destiny 2 has a fuck ton of queerness and nobody talks about it. But it's great, and it only happened because certain developers pushed against the exact type of toxic people that like Bungie has been purging. It's only because people pushed against those types of people that there is so much queerness in the game, and I mean it is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
There are more major NPCs with either directly stated queerness or heavily implied queerness, but like everybody knows. And again, the game has so much explicit queerness that like it doesn't need to say like this character. I made a critique of Mass Effect Andromeda because I fucking hate the way that it wrote a trans character.
Oh, you mean it's like, hi, nice to meet you. I'm trans. Hi.
This is my dead name. No, like I'm not kidding. The first.
Oh no,
I'm trans. This is my dead name.
Yep. Yep, I remember that. I played it. But yeah, no, I also like the other thing too is like you going back to your like, and I'm just dying repeatedly, but like,
Yeah.
going back to your like comment about like people like gaming culture or like a lot of cis men don't wish to identify with like queer themes or trans themes, like inherently uncomfortable with that very notion. It's like, but like as I said before, gaming. There's a fantastic book that I'm actually gonna quick recommend here. That is about how the inherent like gaming is an inherently like video gaming is an inherently queer exercise. It is you putting on another identity to play it out and like see how it feels and like experiencing vicariously these things and like feeling emotions of other people towards other people and like like even games like I think the one that kind of blew my mind but like was just sort of like, oh yeah, Octodad is one of the gayest games about which the whole, I don't know if you played Octodad. The
I've heard about it.
the whole yeah,
Yeah,
the whole concept of
heavy queer subtext.
yeah, the whole point of Octodad is like you're an octopus, but you're trying to pretend to be human, and it's just like the game is like you trying to hide. Also, we got bots. Sorry, apologies, chat. I'm just gonna quick clean up.
No,
the
no,
bots.
it's
But
not
you can talk about what you were saying, but I'll quick deal with the bots. While you do.
Yeah, I should probably, but because of that video, Robert Brooks, one of the like lead writers at Bungie, found it and shared it with the narrative team. So, and apparently they were really, really happy to see that response. And I've actually chatted with Robert a bit since then. And I have zero details, but all he said was that I should be excited for this upcoming year.
Oh shit!
It's the video, so all I'm gonna say is I think we're getting more queer stories.
Hell yeah!
I'm really hoping that a year from now, what my hope long term is that from a year from now, there'll be enough to do like a follow up video and yeah, and I might see about trying to like do some interviews and things with people and that sort of thing. But I
love that stuff when like things that you love like start to show the queerness more direct. Like Star Trek has been for me. I've been like so pleased with like Star Trek having like finally like centering so many queer stories. And then also another good one that I wish to like point out, like The Expanse, I think is subtly the most like actively radical queer representation I've seen in science fiction is on The Expanse. Like for example, like number one, like one of their main characters.
Spoilers, please. I have not
no, I want. There's no spoilers. It's just like talking about the people that are in it. There's no spoilers for the plot or anything. There is a polyamorous character, and the way polyamory is represented is so good because it's like it shows the conflicts between like different people, but also how they all work to like remain ethically like connected to each other and like are open about things, and also like how these conflicts in relationships play out like normal conflicts, but like you have to get managed by multiple people and things like that, but they all love each other inherently. Like the polyamorous representation in that show is so good, and yet it never draws attention to itself to be like, here's the poly, like it's just part of the story. And then for example too, this season they added a non-binary character, and they didn't even announce it, and it wasn't like part of the press release being like, we got a non-binary character. And the character themselves is clearly non-binary within the show, but they never draw attention to them, like to the fact that they're non-binary. They're just there. And the only reason like I like knew before the show that the character is non-binary is because the actor stated like, I'm a non-binary actor getting to play a non-binary character in the show. I love it. But I love the show, like it's not missable that the person's non-binary. They use they them pronouns, but there's never like any active like call out of it. There's no like drawing attention to it. It's just a person that's
naturalization.
Yes, and I think it's just so good.
I want to say I think both types are really valuable.
Oh yeah,
I think
for sure.
Like and part of that Destiny video is about that, and I think like Adira is fucking great. I love Adira.
Mm-hmm.
Adira's really, really happy that Adira exists. I'm gonna end off on a little like quick discovery thing.
Yeah,
and
please
then
do.
and I'll head out. But I tried to watch Discovery season 1.
I remember your reactions.
2 different occasions.
I remember you messaging me to this.
Finally forced myself through it. And I think Star Trek Discovery Season 1 is one of the most vile pieces of TV ever created. I think it has some of the most disgusting representation of disability and sexual assault. I have no positives, basically, other than the performance of certain actors and liking certain characters. I despise season 1 of Discovery. So when I tell you that the latter half of the show is some of my favorite TV...
Oh yeah, no, seasons
I
two.
fucking mean it. It's such a drastic improvement.
Well, you know the reason for that, right? Do you know the behind the scenes of it? The reason is that
well, yeah, no, they got rid of the abusers that were.
Yeah, there was people in season
Showrunners.
1 were very actively abusive, and so that's why.
Yeah.
And I do find there's elements of season 1 that I do like, but overall I definitely agree with a lot of your like critiques.
Yeah,
but I also I will say like. Sorry.
I was in a specific headspace watching it too, and I was in such a bad mood that I think it just colored everything. Like, I want to be clear, I don't even know if like every single thing I feel about it is necessarily fair, because I just kind of hit a point where I was just heavily critically analyzing everything, because I just like that was the only thing I could get out of the show.
Well, to be fair, I think every opinion that you stated, that you shared with me when you were like going through it, and everything you've articulated, I 100% agree with. I do find that there's stuff to redeem in that season for me personally, but every criticism that you made, and if it like has been 100% valid, and it also like if that's like also like what just like you can't like get past that sort of stuff in your view, that's also 100% valid. So
I will at some point. Like it's gonna be a while till I make it, because I'm gonna have to be in the right headspace to work on it, and it's gonna take a fair bit of research and stuff. But I want to talk about misrepresentation of sexual assault in film and TV, and Discovery is gonna be one of the examples. Sucker Punch, to bring Zack Snyder back up, is another one that I'm gonna discuss. There's a few others. Riverdale's statutory rape storyline with the teacher, that's really gross. But I want to talk about the different ways that victims are treated based on gender and how our society is built. And basically, the fundamental aspect that I'm going to bring up is that society views men as inherently having autonomy. And because of this, when we watch something like Star Trek Discovery or whatever, it reinforces this idea that men aren't really victims. That they can't really be victims because they don't truly ever lose autonomy in the situation, right? And so, like, both men and women are treated as inherent liars because, again, sexism views women as duplicitous and all that stuff. I think it's way more complicated with trans people. There's like another 10 layers of complicated bullshit that goes on with the viewpoint of it. Sorry to end on such a dark note.
No, it just happens. I've done that before.
It's important. I have something to say.
Well, I might actually, what'll be fun is if I can get out to this damn bonfire as the ending of you leaving.
That would be so good. I'm really hoping that you will. Yeah, and it's one of those things where I think if you just sprint there right now.
I know, but I'm scared. Yeah, I was just saying I'm scared. I'm too scared to do that.
Run. You got it.
Fire bad. No, fire bad. Nope.
Okay. Too late.
I'm going to do this. I just need to get over that ridge. One sec.
Please! I have seen Pop Culture's Detectives work. I have some significant problems with certain videos that he's made. Not the overall statements, but like sometimes he does a really bad job of like trying to force works of art to fit his narrative when they don't. When I discuss the sexism in Tron Legacy, it's actually partially a refutation of his misunderstanding of that film, because he kind of ignores like 90% of the text to make the reading that he does. I like his work. I think people should go watch it. I want to be clear about that. But I just think that he is sometimes limited by a male perspective.
No, for sure.
And that's not me being negative on him. I have a complicated feeling towards that creator in particular. And yeah, I really hope people don't take that the wrong way. But I just so it's like
I just wanted who are we talking about again? I missed who you're...
Pop Culture Detective.
Oh, gotcha.
It's work that I recommend with a caveat.
Fair.
Because I do think that sometimes he kind of gets a little mansplaining or narrative creative. like he constructs a narrative about a trope and then tries to fit it onto art that it doesn't always necessarily apply to. In the case of like Tron Legacy, he's ironically doing what he's critiquing the film of doing, which is not viewing Korra's autonomy as valid and kind of ignoring huge aspects of what makes the character work, and not really getting the like what where the sexism is coming in full depth. And I think my video does a much better job of critiquing the film. I think that there is sexism in how Tron Legacy treats Korra, but it's much more minor, and a lot of its sexism is actually more directly placed on background characters, particularly the very few women of color in the film. And I also critique the film for having a like there's diversity in race if you look at purely numbers, but if you look at speaking roles, the people of color are basically background characters exclusively, with like maybe one or two lines.
Yeah.
And that's really unfortunate with the messages that film is trying to discuss. And there's some other stuff. It doesn't handle its genocide storyline very well. There's some, like I love the film. It means a lot to me. But there's this tiny little like things.
Fair, very fair.
And I think that sometimes, now I will leave off with one grand point. For the Matrix video, in which I am talking about a marginalized experience that I not personally have, I was very careful to work with a large number of people with a vastly larger amount of knowledge, many of whom had already written about this, and who just agreed to read their own quotes, and I gave them final editing pass on anything around discussing their quotes about the Wachowskis. I think that we should always strive, and I know Jessie does this because I'm an example of that. I was on Sex and Star Trek for this exact reason. I think we should always be striving to find ways of engaging with people who have those experiences, and making sure that we aren't speaking over them when discussing their marginalization. And I think it's not as hard as a lot of people think it is. And I think it is perfectly fine if you cannot find anyone, but you do some research, because sometimes you just can't find somebody. And that's okay if you look. But I think that you need to be open and transparent about, I tried to find somebody and I couldn't. Like, you should state that in the video. This is also an ethos that like my good friend Lady the Brave follows as well, like, and several other creators that I really, really respect. But you should always try to find people who can give a perspective on it, and just remember that it's not a monolith, and if you can find multiple people, you should. If you are a large creator, if you have like some amount of budget for videos and things, and you're in the place to be hiring sensitivity readers, you should be hiring sensitivity readers. I think that's just a
100%. That's what I try to do. I try and hire sensitivity readers with all my work as well, and yeah, I agree completely. Is like, we need to. It's something like I tried to learn, something that I'm like actively working to do better about, and that's why like Sex and Star Trek had those, like, I try to include your voice and so many other voices, and I'm like working on sex in like, for example, this is something I was intending to do, but it's funny because you reached out to me to do the same, which was like for Sex and Star Trek.
I think we messaged around the same time, wanting to have that conversation about Sex and Star Trek 2.
Yeah, Sex and Star Trek 2, one of the conversations that I have is and he's already agreed to do this, so I'll just say it here. I'm asking, like, for example, a foreign man in a foreign land to talk about Risa and sexual tourism on Risa. And so it's the point is like, that is something like that is such an important part to talk about within Sex and Star Trek. But it's like, that is a conversation that, number one, I should not be talking about, because like I'm not the person who's in that. But also, it's like, it's a place.
I think we should be specific. It's not that we shouldn't be talking about it. It's that we shouldn't be leading the conversation. That's how I like to couch it. Is like, I think by us platforming these people, we are talking about it inherently, right? We are technically providing a perspective, but we're it's important to centralize And
Well,
that's what we're talking
exactly. That's what I was like gonna get to,
about.
is that like it is the fact that like, you know, something that like I always was feeling as like a creator is like, oh, I should never talk about like issues that people of color face at all. And it's like,
Yeah.
but that just misses so much important stuff to talk about and bring in, and you need to bring it in. We need to have those conversations, but also like my voice is not the one that should be centered in those conversations. But also it's like important for me to be able to be in those conversations, just not centered, but also like be in that discussion as well, and just not be the centered one or the voice that is listened to most inherently. And then also the other thing too is the importance of listening to other voices. It's why I like if I don't have the time, or like there's just not like there's not the ability to, or I think there's already good work that's out there, I will be like, go listen to this creator's stuff in my videos and point to that.
Yes.
And then also I try my best to listen to as like there's a lot of like I watch a lot of like YouTube videos from other trans creators to see what's going on and stuff like that. But I also try my best to try and find people from other communities that I listen to talk to, because it's one of those like if Foreign Man in a Foreign Land hadn't made his earlier video about the sexual tourism, it's not something I would have really thought about for my Star Trek one initially. But it's like, but that is not like Foreign's like. Foreign did a great job for doing that, but it's my fault for the fact that like I wouldn't have thought of it if I hadn't encountered him. You know what I mean?
And again, it's that process of learning. Like I'm thinking of doing a short video once I release the Matrix video. That's basically going to be just like here's all the people that helped me with this Matrix video. You should go support them, but also like a conversation about how algorithms function, and how you can manipulate them. So a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about how machine learning works. For context, I have done professional research work involving machine learning and AI. I'm decently knowledgeable about learning algorithms. I'm at least in the top 1% of human beings on the planet for knowledge on machine learning. And like what people even think an AI, like even the concept of an AI isn't really a thing. That's not really a thing in our field. It is the name of the field. It often feels like people are talking like it'd be like if someone walked up and was like, a zoology, and you're like, a what? And they point at a zebra and they go, a zoology. No. This is not what that means. That's not how that works.
Oh boy.
What the fuck are you talking about? So yeah, like it's one of those things where a lot of people don't really understand it. So I basically want to explain, like, yes, YouTube affects what you get to watch, but guess what? You can teach the algorithm, because the algorithm that I'm going to throw some shade right now. Google's algorithm isn't very good. I genuinely don't think that Google's algorithms are very good. They have very little understanding of what they're doing. Often, they basically spent no time trying to understand what their algorithms are doing. That's why they're constantly fucking confused by their own YouTube algorithms. Like, there's a lot of incredibly intelligent people at Google. I want to be clear. Google doesn't give a shit. That's the problem.
Yeah. Also, sorry, I'm listening, but also I'm currently mildly terrified. But what I'm looking at right now.
Oh yeah, you gotta kill the giant.
No, I don't wanna. I don't.
It's not that bad.
You say that, but he's huge. What is happening here? Oh good. Oh good.
It's a big giant golem. Big giant iron golem.
I don't like this.
Which I would be curious to ask a Jewish friend if this game's representation of golems is
that would be interesting.
I'm not sure, and I mean it really depends who you ask. Like I can think of multiple instances of like Jewish friends whose perspectives I really respect, like all of them, who would disagree about examples, but yeah. So I think basically what I'm going to do is like, you can breach these algorithms and get into other spaces in YouTube if you purposefully do that. But in order to do that, you need some channels to start with, you know? So go watch these creators. it will alter your YouTube.
Like prime it.
No, no, that enemy there was the giant. I'm talking about the boss of the region is the golem.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. Yes, everyone should watch Jacob Geller's video on the golem, and then they should watch every single video Jacob Geller's ever made, because Jacob Geller is like,
he is my I support him on Patreon. He is my personal favorite video essayist. I adore Jacob Geller. He is fan freaking tastic. Like,
yeah, I've heard that saying before, Jeffrey, from Jewish friends. But like, no, it's all good, Jen. But yeah, the like Jacob is one of like the people that innovates this fucking medium in ways that I constantly wish I had the capability of innovating in that way. And maybe I will get to that point eventually. I mean, I'm only like a year in, but Jacob Geller's fucking incredible.
Yeah, if any of you aren't watching Jacob Geller, like I said, I support him on Patreon. Like, go follow Jacob Geller. He is fantastic.
Genuinely just an incredible artist. No one else writes about art in the way that he does. He's a completely unique perspective and presentation and execution. Yeah, Geller's latest video on Fear of Cold is amazing and
so
hard for me to watch as someone. So I live in Canada. I've experienced real cold. Like, I've experienced like had to sit in a shower for hours to regain minor feeling in my hands and feet again. Cold. I've been in minus 55, not including wind chill. I know cold. Like, Fear of Cold just hit me. The same way that Fear of Depths just like touched on some things. But yeah, all of his work is incredible. What was I saying? But yeah, so I'll probably make a video like right after the Matrix video, and it's not really going to be a video essay. It's just going to be more of a like, these people do great work. Here's the type of work they do. They all do very different types of things, but you should go watch them, and you should breach your YouTube algorithm. You should change what your engagement with art is and with these algorithms is, and you can train them to be better. And that yes, these algorithms are racist, but it is also like you are able to still engage with and affect how they behave if you choose to. It takes effort. You got to know what you're doing, but you can do it. You can do it. So I always I mean, we've already talked about some of these creators, right? Like, follow Jewish creators like Jacob Geller. Follow people of color like Foreign Man in a Foreign Land. You know what? I'm going to shout out something that I'm actually involved in. FT Signifier's new video on Drake is dropping, I think, tomorrow? Monday. It's dropping Monday. Awesome. I did a bunch of animations for it, which, by the way, if you're an artist, because FT's a good...
He did a great. His Breaking Bread video also talked about machine learning and like the racism of machine learning, how it's
FD Signifier is one of the few people to ever talk about machine learning in a video essay that didn't make me want to fucking tear my eyes out. I find it. Again, it's my degree field. I get nitpicky. Like, I want to be clear that it's me being a dick, but I do actually think FD Signifier engaged with the conversation correctly. I think often the way that people try to talk about it just portrays a complete inability to understand things, and I'm like, you are not going to influence the people who you need to influence in this conversation if you engage in it this way. And it's really frustrating because I know they're well-meaning. Again, speaking of consult people, I consulted on We're in Hell's discussion of AI and dating apps. So there's not dating apps, dating apps to a degree, but also the specific. We're in Hell's a buddy of mine, really, really great video essays channel, and he covers various things. But he did a series on reality TV shows and sociology, and they're really interesting discussions of ideological viewpoints and the ways that these reality TV shows say something really interesting about our society in fucked up dark ways. His he did one on gentrification recently that's really good. I'd recommend that. And Sam is also Jewish and talks about that and is great. Again, yeah, just seek out people of color and stuff. Seek out, if you want extra recommendations, start with FD Signifier and then go watch all of the incredible people that FD Signifier is constantly shouting out. He does it all the time. And I think my last thing is just that what I love about the community right now, what I'm seeing right now, I mean, we're doing it right now by this conversation, is that there is a much more of a desire to engage with intersectionality as a conversation and not centralizing one voice or perspective on intersectionality. That we're having these conversations as groups. And like you look at Forum Man's video that we're both in, that has a ton of other incredible creators, Khadija Mbowe, Bellamy Rea, FT Signifier again, fantastic Mr. Fox who's in the chat right now. All wonderful creators that you should be following. And again, an intersectional complex conversation about gender and race that engages with the history and with current systems and with different perspectives from people who lived in different countries. It's incredible. It's also what we need to be doing.
100% agree with you. Also, on the side, I second everything you say. This is completely less important. But thank you, Anna. I've been sitting here being like, are either of these two mimics? Oh. And then Anna's just like, they're both safe. And I'm like, thank you, Anna. I hear you. I appreciate you. If one of these turns out to be a mimic, though, Anna, you and me are going to have some words in a loving way.
It's the chain. If you look at the chain on the side of it, you see how the chain is going towards the back of the chest?
Yes. If it's
that
on the front,
not a mimic.
Okay.
If it's facing towards you, it's a mimic. Here's a fun thing about mimics. You can attack them. Like, you don't have to try to open the chest to activate them. So you can actually attack them.
Oh, I figured as much. I just, didn't know how to 100% tell.
Yeah. And they're worth killing because they usually drop something that's equivalent to a chest.
Oh, that's nice to know.
Anyway, I love you all.
Yes.
I should go. It's late and I'm at a different time zone.
No, so you go get some rest. Go get some rest. I'm gonna hang out. I'm gonna hang out for another 30 minutes, chat before I go. And then I might even try and attempt the boss here, and then I might go to bed after I die because I'm almost assuredly going to die. But we'll do that. So.
Thank you so much for having me on, Jessie.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
I'm just honored to hang out with other cool people and have complex, interesting conversations about art. That's what I'm here for. I'm an artist first. That's what I am. I am an artist that talks about politics, and I infuse my art with political messages. And I think any artist that says they don't is a liar, or ignorant of their own impact. But if you like art, if you like leftist perspectives on art, if you like trans and disability discussions about art, go check out my stuff.
I was just about to say, yeah.
Never put me on a pedestal, though.
No, same here. Never put me on a pedestal either. Except for when it's standing Ethan Peck's beard. I am here for that pedestal. Other than that, I am no pedestal. It's a fine pedestal. That's a pedestal that I'll stay on. And Jonathan Frakes' beard, but I feel like a lot of people are on that one. But anyways, please, everybody, number one, Aranock, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. You are fantastic, incredibly smart and wonderful, and you do so many wonderful things. And you've also been so supportive of me in helping out in Section Star Trek, but also just sending stuff and thoughts and ideas. And I appreciate that. So you are really amazing. Everyone here, there are 161 people in this stream right now, according to my analytics right now, which means that you should go have at least 161 new well, maybe some people are already subscribed to you, but you should get everyone who is not subscribed to Aranock. Based upon everyone who is not subscribed to Aranock right now in the stream, Aranock's going to. I'm assuming you're pulling up your channel link.
Oh, I can do that.
Please pull up your channel link and put it in the chat. Everyone, please open up when Aranock opens up or sends the link. Please open up the link and share it, and not share and subscribe. So please do, because their work is amazing.
I want to make sure I'm not forgetting something. Sarah is Sarah, who's also in the Sex and Star Trek video, right?
Sarah is, and Sarah's also the Costume Codex, who is absolutely wonderful and amazing.
Costume Codex is great.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say that.
Nice.
There's so many cool people in chats. And again, fantastic, Mr. Fox mentioned. Go watch. But yeah, I think go listen to different people.
Please do. I try my best to I try my absolute best to make sure my feed is full of people who do not look like me, and have different perspectives than me. and that is a inherently good thing for the most part. Depending on, as long as you're not looking at like right-wing shithead people, but
Yeah.
otherwise, I think that goes hopefully without
and
saying. But
yeah, and again, it's like marginalized people aren't a monolith, and I think it's important to understand that like political ideology also matters, not just marginalization. But they're connected and they matter together. And yeah, just I don't know, stay curious and stop asking is art good. Start asking, what does it mean to me? What did it make me feel? And what does it say? So those are much more valuable questions. And often they'll give you a better answer of, is the art good anyway?
Yep. Well, it's just like, it's a useless question, is art good? Yeah, honestly. So
it's a meaningless question without context. I think,
that's the better
that's
way.
That's what I thought. You all have a lovely night.
You have a lovely night. It was good seeing you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me again.
Sending you love.
Sending you love.
Well, I'm still here, everybody. Don't worry. I just realized that by turning that off, it turned me off. So I have to figure out how to get my face back up on the screen. So I'm still here. Don't you dare worry. You can't see my face now, so I need to mess with stuff at the moment. So, but yeah, that was Aranock. Aranock is absolutely wonderful and amazing. And I was very glad that they came on, and I hope all of you appreciate it. I'm going to be playing for another, probably 10-15 minutes because I want to, finish exploring this whole area. There we go. There I am. But yeah, I'm going to stay on for just a little bit longer, and then I'm going to end the stream because I got tacos that I want to eat. But Aranock is wonderful. You all really should go and go subscribe to Aranock because they do really wonderful work. And they are very, very kind. And for those of you who don't know, Aranock does a lot of behind-the-scenes work for a lot of different people. Not only did they help me, they are also help a reader for Lady Nightbrave, who is another fantastic YouTuber. And also does a lot of work appearing on other people's streams and talking with other people and things like that. So legitimately really appreciate the work of Aranock, not for the work that they do publicly, but the work that they do invisibly or in just credits of other people's videos. So please give them a subscribe. Anyways, I was very glad that I get it. Also, I just wish to say too, I want to get some feedback from people too, as I'm going to round out tonight too. As you all have saw, and thank you, Aranock. Yay, I'm glad. That's great. Hell yes! Hit 3,000 subscribers. That's awesome, Aranock. That's wonderful. That's absolutely freaking wonderful. I do want to ask just a quick thing to get some feedback from people, and I'm going to try and do my best. I'm still learning. So as you probably saw during that stream, one thing that I just want to be self-critical on and try and make sure I do better is, as you saw last week and this week, last week I had Lucian on and this week I had Aranock on, and I want to try and do better about bringing on more creators. For specifically the reason that Aranock was talking about at the end of the stream there is that I want to start using, because I'm now at a place where I'm over 100k subscribers, and I'm trying to do my best to talk about stuff and to platform other people and to share other people's voices. So I want to try and platform other people as best I can. And so part of that is bringing people onto these video game sessions, because they also help me share with people. It can be more conversational. I have more opportunities to do that with that than just videos where I'm talking about someone in context. But the because it's if I'm doing it in a video, it's always around whatever topic I'm describing instead of allowing them to have their own conversations. And so the question I want to ask all of you is, I'm also trying to do my best to make sure I'm talking with the person, but also engaging with all of you in the chat. So I know for a lot of the stream, I've been I want you to all know I've been reading the chat as I've been playing and talking with Aranock. So I've seen most of your comments, but I haven't been able to respond to every question as I normally do during my game streams. So I just want you to know I have been reading it, but I also want you to know just advice and and feedback about how you all felt during the chat, whether you you didn't whether you want more engagement, whether the engagement that I gave all of you was good. I just basically want feedback and like how you think about how I've been doing with the stream, and just so I can do better at like making sure I'm having a conversation while also like engaging with all of you. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. And yes, Dark Souls is the Dark Souls of Dark Souls. That's a line. Literally, legitimately, I'm writing my writing my GameSpot video about Dark Souls, and I wrote the intro before I started playing, and that's a line in it. Dark Souls is the Dark Souls of Dark Souls is what I said. Well, thank you, Andrew. Yay, I appreciate it. Thank you, Sarah. Oh, perfect. Okay, good. I'm trying to do my best to balance, like, talking with all of you and talking with Aranock and also playing the game. But I also want to make sure, because this is just something that I'm, like, something that is important to me, is I want to make you all feel like you're a part of the conversation and the stream. Because I not to insult other streamers, because they're great streamers, they have their own style. But I also, like, something I notice in other streamers, like, they don't engage with the chat as much, and I want to also make sure I tell all of you how much I love you and appreciate you. I appreciate you all so much. So, yes, please, Aranock just shared, FD's videos in general are great, and Foreign Man's video on gendering is also great. Also, Foreign Man in general is just great. He just did a great video on James Bond, which was really, really good. I think he did a great job on James Bond stuff, so. Multitasking. Yeah, and also, I feel bad, because, like, I feel like I could gotten through this. Everyone's saying, like, and thank you, everybody. By the way, Jan and everyone was very helpful. But specifically Jan the Human and Anna, I've been reading your advice, even though I haven't been calling it out. But I really, really love, I really appreciated your advice throughout all of this. Like, I've been helping get through all of this with all of your help. And I feel bad because, like, I know I did pretty decently, but I'm like, I've been, oh no, why did I do that? As I fall. It's like, I've been doing pretty decently as I fall. Oh, where am I? This does not look like a good place to be. I don't like where this is. Okay, this is not bad. But I feel like do you know Sophie from Mars? I do not know Sophie from Mars personally at all. Like, we have never spoken one-on-one or anything like that, but I am a big fan of Sophie from Mars. I think Sophie from Mars does fantastic work. I think I'm shouting out Sophie's video on The Matrix. So my video coming out Friday is a video on Matrix Resurrections, as we were talking about earlier on in the stream. So it's a video on Matrix Resurrections, but Sophie from Mars did a fantastic video on the Matrix sequels, so Reloaded and Revolutions. Really, really good, along with, I forget the name of their collaborator. They did it with someone else, and I'm blanking on the person they collaborated with. But they collaborated with someone on that video, and it's a fantastic video, and it's like a great... Sarah Zedek, thank you very much, Aranock. I appreciate that. It's really, really good, and is a great... movie one to watch before you watch mine, to be honest with you, because the two of them talk about the prequel movies, and then the sequel Matrix movie, then I talk about Resurrections. So I think you should watch her video and then watch mine. I think it's a great way to do that. But Sophie from Mars is also one of my second favorite. Like, Jacob Geller is my favorite video essayist. Sophie from Mars is like one of my second or third favorite video essayists. I love her videos. Her recent videos on Resident Evil, so good. And yeah, for those of you who don't know, Sophie from Mars used to be known as Curio. So if you've ever listened to like Curio's videos, then you're like, then that's the same. We're talking about the same person. Okay, I'm gonna beat this stupid giant, and then I know there's the boss, which is probably through whatever that is. So oh, is the super movie Meister? Did I miss yours? You had a chat, movie Meister. Movie Meister, I know you had a super chat. What was your super chat? And I meant to respond to it, and I got lost in this. How did you hit me through a wall, you stupid jerk? But yes, please. What was your super chat, Movie Meister? Because I know I saw you do one, and I missed responding. I'm also gonna kill this person. Poor guy. I'm sorry. Now I can actually... You're pretty easy to beat, aren't you? Whoa. Except for when you do that. Oh, he's getting very... You're getting angry! Oh, poor buddy. I'm sorry I have to kill you by stabbing you in the butt. And I'm also sorry, by the way, there's been a lot of bots in tonight's stream, so apologies that apologies on the bots. So thank you, by the way, thank you to all a lot of you have been, moderators. You've been really, really helpful tonight. I appreciate that. So, alright. So thank you to the moderators for catching those bots. I don't know why there's a lot of, it's weird there's a lot of bots tonight. Alright, I think it is time. Oh god, I have a lot of souls to lose, which is not great. I don't like that. I hate it when I have souls to lose. Also, I have a whole beer here. I meant to drink this beer while we were conversating, but Aranock was so wonderful. Alright. Am I gonna do this? Let's see. I'm gonna do it on the first try. I also should run back. Alright, let's do this. Hi, Mr. Awful Person. Okay. Big, lumbering, and slow. Oh, I will. Okay, remind me of that afterwards, Jan, if I die. Alright. So mainly I just gotta learn your move. Well, that went quick. That was pretty easily. That went so wonderfully. Did it? You did it so good. He's easy. Thank you, Andrew Thomas. Alright, let's see if I can run. Can I run to this boss instead of having to, like, do this slow? Let's see if I can do this. Oh, wait, the boss. No, boss is... That's Dark Souls, alright? Hit his ankles. Don't let him grab you. Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate the advice, everyone. So I feel after Sif, I feel like I can handle anything after Sif. Freaking Sif was the worst. Absolute worst. Run, 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 run. Where's the boss again? Did I miss the boss? Beautiful, also dead. The cages in this room are the... Oh, is this... So this is the elevator right here? Wait, how do I use this then? Wait, let's see. Oh, shoot. Okay. Can I open this one? Sif's a mid-boss game, so I feel you. Wait, Sif was not supposed to be beaten now? Wait, was I not supposed to beat Sif when I beat Sif? Because I was like, I'm in the forest, I can go beat Sif. Oh, that makes me upset because I spent 3 hours last night trying to beat Sif and I hated my life. I thought I had to beat Sif now. I'm legit. If that's true, I'm legitimately upset. Okay, not necessarily. That's good. That's good. Okay, this guy. Okay, so this is the only dude that I have to actively face on the way to the boss. Okay. And then boss fight. Okay, let's do this thing. Need a key from... Okay, good. Oh, I will go look for it, Jan. I probably missed some areas while we were chatting. Alright, grab the... He's gonna throw a thing. Okay. Grab that. Alright. At least it's gonna be easy to grab my souls back up. Okay, don't like that. Oh, I don't like that attack either. Okay. This guy seems pretty easy so far. The elephant has surface that bonfire is easy to use. Well, good to know. Alright, also apologies said if I missed some of your comments because I don't wish to die here, so love your chat, but you're gonna be partially ignored for the next minute or two. Because I love you. Oh, he's stunned for somehow. I didn't realize he was stunned. Wait, did I glitch him? Please tell me this is glitched. Oh, he was doing a thing. What is happening right now? Okay, don't fall off the edge. Where's the edge? Do not push me off the edge, you jerk. Oh boy. Hi, buddy. Ow. Oh god, that was a hit. Frack. Run, 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 run. Heal, 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 heal. Ah! No! Ow! Bad! Bad iron golem! Heal. Oh god. That's the thing with this boss, isn't it? It's not that you get hit really hard, or it's just that he will knock you right off the edge, isn't it? That's the way he kills you. Ah! Ow! Stop with the feet! Oh, dang it. Dang it! Bots! Stop it with the bots. Wow, these bots are like horny tonight. The bots are really horny tonight. This is not necessary, but until after the next big MacGuffin. Good to know. Alright. So I didn't need to face Sif now. There's an NPC who sells stuff across the bridge. The key is at the bottom of the tower he's in. Okay, good to know. So wait, you said there's an NPC who sells stuff across the broken bridge up here in the roof area. Across the broken bridge in the roof area. So I'm assuming you mean that area. So the roof of this tower? Is this the one that you mean, Jan? The tower that I'm looking at right here? Yeah, the bots, it's like bots are weird. Oh, what do you think of Sci-Fi Debris? I actually haven't watched much of Sci-Fi Debris. I've heard good things about Sci-Fi Debris. I mean, Lore Runner, who I listen to a bunch, references Sci-Fi Debris, but I haven't listened to Sci-Fi Debris all that much. So wait, the roof area you're talking about, like, I'm assuming like up there, so I'll go. Get a hormone, grab souls, bonfire time. Fair enough. I could do that. But I don't have enough to, like, level up. By the way, what's the best thing to do? Like, I always get stressed out in this game a little bit so far, where it's like, do I level up? What's the most, like, is leveling up the most important thing to do? Or, like, what is the, like, ranking of, like, most important things to do? Also, so where is this guy? In this area? Behind these balls? Does this have to go through the balls? Or what's the... Interesting. The other idea with the broken bridge. Well, I'm gonna go. I'll find this person. I'm gonna try this battle one last time and see how this goes. I'm gonna give this boss battle one more time, and then I might bid it a night. So let's see how this goes. Hi, buddy. How you doing? How's life? Oh god, no! No! Wow. That was quick and easy. I'll do it one more. I'll give it one more try. I'll give it one more try. I'm not gonna let that be the way I go. But then maybe I can find. So wait. So you said, Jan, let me get your advice on this. Also, I love the enemies you only have to kill once. Aranock. Oh yeah, at least I got my souls back first. Yeah, this doesn't feel like I'm gonna. I mean, maybe I'll rue the day I said this words, but it feels like I'm going to. It's gonna be easy to. So wait, Jan, where is this? Stand on the bus like it's Sif. So where is this? This bridge with the broken section. You have to jump. Oh, I have to jump. Oh, I have to. Over there. So I have to jump that way. I'm not going to do that jump until I kill the boss because I don't want to risk my souls. That's going to be the answer to that right now. I don't want to do that right yet because if I screw it up, I lose all my souls, which I don't wish to do yet. So I'll wait until I beat the boss and come out with and can like use up my souls a little bit. All right. Boom. Die. Alright, boss battle. grab the souls and... Okay, grab souls, grab souls, grab souls, grab souls, grab souls, grab souls. Dodge the silly attack from that. Grab the souls. And... kill this guy's ankles. I'm gonna kill your ankles with kindness! And actually... yeah. Oh god! Ah! The dang camera perspective screwed me on that one. One more try. What? Aw, thank you. Equip that homeward bone. One more try. One more time. One more try. One more try. This is how Dark Souls gets you, isn't it? Oh, thank you, Jen. That'd be perfect. I'd actually really love that. I'd actually really, really love that. If you don't mind, so if you don't mind, so what I'm gonna. By the way, I told you I'm gonna be Jan and Anna, since you've been giving a lot of advice, I might not call you. Don't want to call you up by name specifically, but I might reference the fact that you helped me in my GameSpot video, because in the GameSpot video, the whole arc of the GameSpot video is that because I've been trying to like emotionally, because I always try to do the GameSpot video like add emotion to it, because it's like, so the reason I'm playing Dark Souls for the first time right now is I'm doing a GameSpot video where I play Dark Souls for the first time and talk about it, but I want to add like the emotional context to it. It's not like me being like, and I'm going to talk about the game's physics and like all that stuff. Like the arc that I want to talk about in the video is how this game made me feel. And so the arc that I started the game on is that it's like, I'm going to try and beat Dark Souls with no advice, because that's how I took the game at start. It's like, I can beat this game without ever talking about it, and like without ever checking with anybody, getting any advice. But the arc then is like, I talk about like my frustration with Sif and how I almost cried. The first day that I played Dark Souls is also the day that my surgery got canceled, so that first day was really, really rough playing this game. And so I want to share like that, how I got like the arc of like, I can do this on my own, to going to, oh, I actually get help from the community, and how that mirrored how many people play Dark Souls. How many people play Dark Souls like, oh, it's challenging, but the part of this game is like learning and commiserating and following and like finding people who also appreciate the game and the sense of community that this game engenders in many ways. And then also you can kill other people by invading other people's games too. But like, this game is all about building community. And no lock on this try. I will do no lock on. So like, that's why I want to, so I might mention like in the games videos, like I played with my community and like they were like super helpful, and I'll add more than that, but that's like the basic idea of what I'll be writing. Ow, you're a jerk with your punchies. I need to get more centralized, because he's just gonna knock me right off this edge here. Oh god! I didn't know he could do that! Oh, that's just mean. That's a meanie McMean face. That's what that is. I'm only just trying to kill you for good. Why you gotta be so mean about it? Nice. Ooh, ooh, make him fall on his butt. Fall on your butt. Ah! Just die, please. I just like this. Oh god. The thing I hate about Dark Souls bosses is that like, you can get very close to the end and then everything can just change in a second. Ah! Please don't fall! 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 Ah! Sorry, I'm screaming, everybody. Ha 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 ha. No, no, bad golem. Oh god, I'm so stressed right now. I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. I both love and hate this in equal measure. Yes! Yes! Get all topsy-turvy! I'm gonna beat you! Hit! Yes! Yes! Core of Iron Golem. I got your core, buddy. Ooh, that looks like a MacGuffin. Oh, I probably should not have grabbed that. I did not know that was a cutscene. No, please don't be a boss. Please, those gargoyles better not come to life. Please, I swear to God, if those gargoyles come to life. No! 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 Okay, are they taking me? Okay, they're taking me somewhere. Oh, thank God. Okay, these are nice demons. Oh. I'm like, no, please don't have another boss battle right after this. Ooh. Pretty. Oh, that's so pretty. Ready that homeward bone. Good to know. Oh, so pretty. Oh, that's so many souls. All right. Question. How far is the nearest bonfire? Because I don't know how to get back to where I was. Wait, who can I talk to here? I can talk to you? Oh, can you? Oh, you just take me back? Oh, they're just gonna take me back. Okay, that's not bad. So it's I can just go back to the bonfire that I was at. Okay. But you're saying the next bonfire, the next bonfire have a lot of enemies between me? You're saying the next bonfire is pretty close. Is it between run past the giants? I'm just gonna go back to the old. I'm gonna go back to the old bonfire and level up. So if it's close but dangerous, I'm gonna just use the bonfire first. Is there anything here before I go anywhere? I'm just gonna go because I'm gonna end out the stream tonight. So I'm gonna go back to my bonfire and have you all help me level up. So and then I'll play that next part tomorrow. Wait, what's tomorrow? Oh, tomorrow I'm writing my Joss Whedon video, so I probably won't. Well, maybe I'll stream tomorrow night. I won't guarantee it, but I might stream more Dark Souls tomorrow night if you're all cool with that. I'll probably be streaming because I literally, legitimately have to beat this game for work. So I might do some more streaming of this in the next few days. So yes. But don't let it get you down. Well, all of you have been wonderful. And yeah, I mean, every gaming community, that's the thing. Many gaming communities have their toxic elements, right? We were talking about that earlier with Aranock, right? There's so many and thank you, by the way, Looney. I appreciate you. Much love to you, by the way. I didn't say that for your super chat, but there are many the problem with gaming culture. This is something that I want to talk about on GameSpot. I'm asking, they might let me do a video on this, but one of the things that I want to talk about is how we don't talk about the toxicity in gaming all that much. There's this element of in other communities like TV, film, and stuff. There's a big active culture of not the biggest, and there needs to be more, but there is a culture of calling it out of the toxicity. Whereas in gaming, it's very, very the systems in place have not been there to prop up talking about these sort of things. And so it's we need to create systems where we talk about these toxicity in a lot of these gaming spaces. But that being said, it is a big problem in gaming, but there are really wonderful places online that you can find that I think of this right here, right now. All of you are helping me beat Dark Souls right now, and you're all wonderful and amazing. So there you go. All right. So what do you all think I should do? Is there anything that I need to buy? So all right, this is my stats, by the way. Any recommendations? I've been mainly just hacking stuff with axes. So I've been putting all my stats into strength, endurance, and vitality. So if anyone has any advice on where I should put its stuff, I would be. The best thing I've found for leveling in this game is to upgrade weapons and shields. That in upgrade endurance and vitality. Vitality is if you have trouble with dying too much. I don't have a ton of trouble with dying too much, other than I die more from obstacles rather than enemies, unless they're bosses. I do need to get a better shield. That is true. Do you want to buy a monkey? Never used the golem weapons. Ooh, fun. I'm going to put some in endurance then. I can put 2 in endurance. Then I'm close for another level. Keep cross-leveling endurance vitality. Okay, good to know. Endurance. Oh, that's good. All right, I'm going to do that then. Sweet. And then I have just enough to almost get to the next level soon enough, so I'll save my souls for now, and as soon as I can, I'll upgrade it. All right, everybody. I'm going to sign out for the night because I have these cold tacos. I need to warm up these tacos, and I'm going to watch an episode of Star Trek. So I'm going to head out. Give you more than leveling stats, but yeah, strength, endurance, vitality are all great. Good. That's what I've been jumping through. Oh, perfect. Thanks, Jan. Don't level any stats too far after 40. There's a soft cap. Interesting. After 40. So after 40 is... So where am I at? Like... Okay, so I'm pretty close. So get these things up to 40, and then, like, after that, just sort of, like, you're good. Okay, that's good to know. All right, everybody. I love you all. I'm going to head out for tonight. Like I said, I might either stream tomorrow or later on this week more Dark Souls, probably here on YouTube. So keep an eye, look out for that. Or it might be on Twitch. I'll see how I end up feeling. But I love you all. I adore you all. I will see you all soon. Mwah. Look for the Matrix video. If you're a patron, Matrix video is up. So if you want to watch the Matrix video, it's up right now. Otherwise, as long as the copyright claim stuff on YouTube goes through, which it's looking like it should, and so as long as copyright stuff goes through on YouTube, my Matrix video will be up on Friday for everyone else. So, and on Nebula as well. So in Nebula or YouTube, my Matrix video will be up on Friday, and then Patreon, you have it already. So go watch it now if you want to see my Matrix video. Love you all. Go subscribe to Aranock. Mwah. I'll see you all soon.